Chapter 712. That's true. With a guild like this, it's no different from the two of us fighting. Gu Fei said. But no matter what, it's still better to build one. He had directly destroyed a resurrection camp. If this were to be converted into points, how many points would that be? But with your current status, how would the rewards be calculated? I don't think it would be added to amethysts, nor would it be calculated to your friend's guild in the outer city? Shi Xiaotian said. That makes sense. Gu Fei nodded. As a loyal gamer, Sword Demon was also quite passionate about the rewards in the game. When he heard that the system might not release the rewards while they were busy, he felt very uncomfortable. Let's build it first. If these people can be used, then use them. If not, then we'll fight. At the very least, we can send the rewards to your guild. Gu Fei said. That's all we can do. Sword Demon nodded. Then I'll call for help. Shi Xiaotian said. Who asked you to call for help? Gu Fei said in disdain. Isn't it just 20 people? I can just wave my hand and they'll come. Shi Xiaotian pouted helplessly. Brother Yu, I'll call Brother Yu over first. Sword Demon immediately thought of this colleague of his in the elite group, a wild player without a guild like him. He's not turning on the message. It's not convenient to say it in this channel? Gu Fei said. Do you think he'll come if Gongzi calls for him now? He'll probably come in the future, but for now, I'm afraid not. Sword Demon said. He understood the Han family young master. Even if he looked down on the people around him and used them as chess pieces, he would still disdain the act of abandoning his comrades to join the enemy. Oh, then do you think Yutian can come? Gu Fei asked again. The Sword Demon was silent for a long time. Although he didn't want to say yes, his heart had already told him that Yutian Shenming definitely didn't have such integrity, so he nodded. I think you can. Speaking of which, yesterday, where did Yutian go? Gu Fei suddenly remembered something. Why isn't he with you? Sword Demon was surprised. I thought he was with you, Gu Fei said. No, said the Sword Demon. After thinking about it, the two of them looked at each other. Lost. You don't even know to call for help when you're lost. Gu Fei shook his head. Pride won't allow it. Sword Demon said. Then do you think he can find this place now? Gu Fei said. It's a test, said the Sword Demon. If he can't do it, then go and pick him up, said Gu Fei. Then why don't we just ask him and then go find him? Otherwise, if he stubbornly tries to find himself, it'll be too much of a waste of time. Although the Sword Demon was very kind, he was also very realistic. Go find him. Gu Fei nodded. He originally wanted to tell Yutian Shenming the coordinates and ask him to come over, but after listening to the Sword Demon's analysis, he deeply agreed. He then asked where Yutian Shenming was and told him to wait for them. When we see Yutian, then ask him to help us contact Tsubasa Sakuratsuka and those brats. Gu Fei said that because he and the Sword Demon were defending the city, they didn't have any information with the attacking guilds, so they had to rely on Yutian Shenming as a middleman. The Sword Demon reserved his opinion. Frankly speaking, thinking that the foundation of his newly established guild was this group of brats, the Sword Demon felt a chill. In addition, there was also Yutian Shenming. But what was the difference between this brat and a playboy? The Sword Demon just had some expectations for Yutian Shenming, but when the two sides met, it was shattered. Yutian Shenming jogged all the way over, completely ignoring Gu Fei and the Sword Demon. He didn't ask what was going on and went straight to Shi Xiaoyan's side. Sister Tian. Yutian Shenming called out intimately. The Sword Demon was in a bad mood. Why are you still here? Gu Fei asked Shi Xiaotian. Hey, chasing people away like this is too ungentlemanly. Can't the guild bring me along to play a little? Shi Xiaotian said. The guild. Yutian Shenming, who had just been kicked out of his guild, was quite sensitive to these two words. The Sword Demon is preparing to establish a guild. You should join too. Gu Fei said. There's also Sister Tian? Yutian Shenming was overjoyed. The Sword Demon had completely lost hope in him. What are you trying to do? Gu Fei asked Shi Xiaotian. The city war has been going on for a day, and the attacking players are at their wits' end. On the other hand, the two of you defending the city are doing well. If I see the wind and steer the rudder, should I actively get closer to you guys? Shi Xiaotian honestly analyzed the facts. Wait, if the sword demon establishes a guild, will it be the defending side? Yutian Shenming finally shifted his attention from the beauty and began to think about the problem. I'm going to give it a try. I'm not too sure right now. Sword demon said. Sword demon, you have to be careful. This scourge can't be accepted. Gu Fei was still entangled in the matter of Shi Xiaotian. While persuading the sword demon, he also looked at Shi Xiaotian. Speaking of which, you used to think that you were a scourge and couldn't drag the guild down. Why have you changed your mind now? Do you want to find a safe haven after causing trouble? Then I can just casually find a guild to join. Do I need to be stabbed by you here? Shi Xiaotian said. That's true. Even the sword demon agreed with this statement. He had been a guild leader before and knew very well that it was absolutely easy for a girl to join a guild. If it was a great beauty like Shi Xiaotian, he was afraid that many guilds would fight over her. Let's vote. I have 1 vote, Little Tian has 1 vote, Sword Demon hesitated and abstained, Qianli voted against, 2-1, passed. Yutian Shenming jeered. If I kill you too, it'll be 1-0. Gu Fei drew his sword. Don't be like this. Seeing that he was going to be the boss again, Sword Demon hurriedly came out to uphold justice. No matter what, the idea was Shi Xiaotian's. Qianli, it's not good for you to reject people like this. Boss Sword Demon is still the most reasonable. Shi Xiaotian smiled and despised Gu Fei. Inviting a wolf into the house. Gu Fei was indignant. Since it's a guild, there will naturally be guild rules. If you do something that violates the rules, there will naturally be punishment. Sword Demon said indifferently. That's right. Judging based on personal preferences, this kind of behavior is unacceptable. Shi Xiaotian said. Gu Fei really wanted to hack her to death, but after thinking about it, he endured it. He decided to see what this guy was up to, so he fiercely glared at Shi Xiaotian. Shi Xiaotian didn't care, turning her head to the side and humming a song. The construction guild needs at least 20 people. Where are the others? Yutian Shenming asked. Yutian, help me send a message to Water Depth and tell him. Sword Demon said. Understood. Yutian Shenming was now the messenger, so he immediately contacted Water Depth. Also, contact Tsubasa's Sakuratsuka and ask where they are. Let's meet up. Gu Fei also ordered. Yutian Shenming did as he was told. Water Depth was the first to respond, so he naturally didn't have any objections. He even helped Sword Demon and directly kicked him out. Sword Demon, who had regained his freedom, was smug. The 4 of them went to meet up with the people from Eternal Life in Flowers. These guys were quite miserable. They were deeply despised by the guild players in Cloud City. They didn't even dare to wear their guild badge in the crowd. Otherwise, even if they didn't get killed, they would be drowned in curses. At this time, a group of people gathered in a small forest outside of the battlefield to entertain themselves. Gu Fei was puzzled. These guys' actions had nothing to do with the city war, so why did they sign up for it? Sword Demon's thoughts weren't like this. Seeing these guys hiding in the dark forest like they were avoiding the world, Sword Demon felt that it was because they were helping him and Gu Fei that they didn't dare to show their faces in front of people and had to hide in such a pitiful place. He suddenly felt that his actions of despising them were too much. Eternal Life in Flowers' betrayal was indeed very immoral, but even if he let down all the players in Cloud City, he definitely wouldn't let down him, Sword Demon. Thinking of this, Sword Demon suddenly felt that he had no sense of loyalty and hurriedly reflected on himself. Where are you guys? Come out. Gu Fei entered the forest and couldn't see anyone. He knew that these guys were scheming again, so he hurriedly shouted. There was no need for Gu Fei to shout. The men in flowers had already come out. With their sharp eyes, how could they not notice Shi Xiaotian's existence? Fireball directly used the archer's agility and drilled out of the grass. He used the posture of a cheetah to run over and directly turned into white light halfway and disappeared. While everyone was surprised, a person behind Fireball got up from the grass and blew on the bow in his hand. This shameless guy. Everyone was sweating profusely. There were no losses during the city war, so these immoral guys started to kill each other for real. It wasn't like the usual fights where they would at least hold back in the end. Brother Zue, what's the hurry? No one cared about the fireball's death in the thicket of flowers. It was as if nothing had happened. Sakurazuka Tsutomo walked out and casually asked Gu Fei. Oh, it's like this? Gu Fei explained the situation. Everyone was very excited when they heard it. Everyone raised their hands in response, saying that they wanted to join Gu Fei's guild and leave eternal life in flowers to Tsubasa Sakuratsuka. Amidst the noise, someone finally asked a question that they were very concerned about. Brother Zue, after merging us, are you going to merge Amethyst as well? Am I right? Everyone asked while drooling. About that? I didn't ask them, and I didn't plan to ask. Even if he had such a plan, Gu Fei would definitely give up on it after seeing this bunch of hungry ghosts. Sword Demon started to feel fear again. His own guild had a bunch of girls who didn't know how to play games, and a bunch of players who only knew how to play girls. What kind of guild was this? Oh, I see. Although everyone was a little disappointed, they did not back down. They all expressed that they would still follow Gu Fei. If they followed Gu Fei, there would be girls. That was what they always thought. Shut the fuck up. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka suddenly roared. Just when everyone was about to laugh at him, they noticed that Tsubasa Sakuratsuka's expression was unprecedentedly serious. They immediately shut their mouths and quietly listened to what Tsubasa Sakuratsuka had to say, ready to laugh at him at any time. Brother Zue, if Boss Sword Demon wants to start a guild, he'll definitely make a name for himself. To be honest, we're just a mess, and we don't have much integrity. A proper guild like this might not suit us. If we really join, we'll definitely cause a lot of trouble in the future. When that happens, Boss Sword Demon won't be able to show his face. That's why I think it's not appropriate for you to come to us for this matter, Tsubasa Sakuratsuka said seriously. The forest was silent. After a while, a guy in the flower bush said in surprise, "Fuck me, Tsubasa Sakuratsuka can actually speak human language." You motherfucker. Tsubasa Sakuratsuka was furious. This idiot thinks we're really going to join Boss Sword Demon's guild. Hee, we're just joining in the fun. We're a charismatic guy who lives forever among flowers. Joining those tacky big guilds? That'll be too degrading. Yes, we can't do degrading things. Otherwise, we won't even be able to pick up girls in the future. Hee, Brother Zue, we were just joking. You didn't take it seriously, did you? Gu Fei and Sword Demon had mixed feelings. Gu Fei didn't know much about guilds, so he didn't think it through so thoroughly. In fact, if such a group of unscrupulous and hateful fellows were in a guild, it would definitely be a headache for them to deal with. Sword Demon understood, but he couldn't say anything when he thought of how Forever Among Flowers was so kind to him. He was just feeling ashamed for having such thoughts just now. Who knew that the players of Forever Among Flowers understood this principle better? At first, everyone was impulsive, but with Tsubasa Sakuratsuka's words, everyone immediately reacted. They were very clear about what they liked and how they played the game. Join a proper guild? That would not only restrain themselves, but it would also make things difficult for the head of the guild. Therefore, it was the most suitable way for them to set up a group that belonged to them freely and unrestrainedly. Brother Zue, Boss Sword Demon, about joining a guild, I think that's it? Tsubasa Sakuratsuka said. Gu Fei didn't make it clear at first that he was borrowing people to make up the numbers, so the men in flowers mistakenly thought that he was inviting them to join the guild. Now that he said it, it made Tsubasa Sakuratsuka and the others' good intentions seem a little awkward. Gu Fei and Sword Demon looked at each other. Since Forever Among Flowers was so considerate of them, Gu Fei and Sword Demon couldn't say that he actually just wanted them to help make up the numbers. So they didn't say anything more, just nodded and said, okay. After parting with the guys from Forever Among Flowers, everyone's mood hadn't calmed down yet. A group of seemingly unscrupulous guys were very firm and meticulous when it came to big matters. This was something no one expected. These guys. Sword Demon really had the urge to force them into the guild, but emotions were emotions and reason was reason. Sword Demon knew very well that if these people entered the guild and used the guild to restrain them, they wouldn't be happy. If they weren't restrained, the guild would be unhappy. So, now was the best way to deal with it. What do we do? Do you want me to find someone? Shi Xiaotian asked. Gu Fei and Sword Demon didn't even have time to say anything before they saw a person scramble over from the side of the road, shouting, "Brothers Zue!" Gu Fei saw that it was Fireball. He had just rushed over from the resurrection camp and met the 4 people. He immediately ran over and shouted, "Take me, take me." Yuzai already said that you guys aren't joining. Gu Fei said, No, I've already left forever among flowers. I want to follow you. Fireball's will was quite firm. I didn't join either. Gu Fei said, It's better to follow you into Rebirth Amethyst. Fireball said, I really want to cut you to death. Gu Fei restrained his impulse. Anyway, I've already decided. I've already told you Zai and left the guild. You guys can't not accept me. Fireball was shameless. You see, Gu Fei said to Sword Demon. Then let's accept it. Are there any brothers who are willing to come? Sword Demon suddenly felt that this was also a good way to repay these brothers. Those who were willing could come. Is this considered poaching? Gu Fei reminded Sword Demon. Sword Demon broke out in a cold sweat, regretting his slip of the tongue. Fortunately, Fireball said, No, they won't come. Why are you so strong-willed? I don't think you can't get along with them. Gu Fei asked. Although Fireball had just been personally extinguished by his brother, anyone could see that it was because they had a good relationship. If they didn't have a good relationship, wouldn't they fall out with you if you extinguished them? I think it's cooler to follow you, Brother Z. Fireball clenched his fist. Your boss is over there. Gu Fei pointed at Sword Demon. Then you're number 2? Fireball asked. I'll chop you to death. Gu Fei was very dissatisfied with this title of number 2 that was often misunderstood. With Fireball's wretched personality, Gu Fei suspected that he did it on purpose. Alright, now there's one more. Do you need me to find someone? Shi Xiaotian asked again. There's another beauty coming? Hurry up and find her. Fireball immediately became excited. There's a beauty coming? Then what are we waiting for? Yutian Shenming heard Fireball's misunderstanding and also began to misunderstand. Wait, did we forget someone? Gu Fei said. Jian Nan and the others. Gu Fei said. Yeah. Sword Demon slapped his head. Yutian, contact them. Gu Fei said. They're neutral players. You can contact them yourself. Sword Demon reminded. Oh. Gu Fei forgot and immediately sent a message to Jian Nan. It was concise and to the point. This time, he also expressed his intention to join the guild. In any case, even if he didn't want to join the guild, he could join for now and look for a better job in the future. Jian Nan and the others had nothing to do. Now that there was a citywide war, they had nothing to do. When they heard that they could be the defenders and could possibly win big rewards, they were very interested and agreed without hesitation. 7 more people. Gu Fei announced. 11 people, 9 more to go, the Sword Ghost said. Brother you, this guy still hasn't opened the message. Think of a way to contact him. And Wushang, do you want to ask? Gu Fei said. I'll ask. Sword Demon said. The message came quickly. Sword Demon shook his head and said, Wushang said we'll talk about it after the war ends. Che, he's still pretending. Yutian Shenming didn't believe that Unscathed in Battle had this quality. He's different from you. He has a good relationship with the people from that guild. Sword Demon explained for Unscathed in Battle. In fact, it was equivalent to denying Unscathed in Battle's quality. Sword Demon didn't realize that what he was implying was that if Unscathed in Battle had no relationship with the guild like Yutian Shenming, then he would definitely change sides. What about Young Master? You didn't ask? Yutian Shenming said. He won't. Sword Demon said with certainty. Then even if we count Brother Yu, we're still missing 8. Gu Fei said. Shi Xiaotian didn't say anything. Her suggestions would always be ignored. Let them find a way themselves. Butterfly not. We're still missing 8 people. Guess who it will be? Chapter 7:13. Sword Demon was a loner in this game, so he didn't have many people in his friend list. Some of his old friends were cut off because their original guilds were quickly disbanded in this game. Yutian Shenming was a hardcore player, so he naturally had some old friends. However, because the main city was so badly divided, everyone was in the same world, but it was no different from not being in the same server. At first, there was still some communication, but after a long time, everyone had new friends, so the communication faded. Yutian Shenming's new friends in this game were all by his side. As for Jian Nanyu, the group of 7 were his best friends, and they had already come over in one go. His other friends were all in Waterside City. As for his customers, they were all over the game. Moreover, these people were only doing business with him, so he couldn't ask them. The dozen or so people that had already gathered had all their connections checked, but in the end, they didn't know who they were. Brother Yu wouldn't open up any information no matter what. In fact, when it came to connections, Brother Yu was quite good. He would often say, "I have a friend so and so." If he could get Brother Yu to come over, it would definitely be of great help. Yuden, send a message in the channel and ask Brother Yu where he is. Say that you want to play with him. Gu Fei said, "Why are you so secretive?" Yutian Shenming said, "We can't let young master find out. Otherwise, with his reaction, he'll quickly think that we're going to attack the camp. At that time, he'll be on guard. Even if we have a guild, we won't be able to fight against hundreds of thousands of people." Sword Demon was very serious. "Then you've miscalculated. Do you think that Unscathed in Battle's big mouth will help you keep your secret?" Yutian Shenming shook his head. He and Unscathed in Battle could be considered a pair of bad friends. They laughed at each other for fun, so they understood each other very well. If they didn't understand each other, how could they poke at the other's sore spot? It can't be. As soon as Gu Fei and Sword Demon finished speaking, Unscathed in Battle announced in the mercenary channel, "Hey, Qianli, Sword Demon, how's your guild doing?" The channel was silent. Gu Fei and the Sword Demon beat their chests and stamped their feet. They had overestimated the wisdom of Unscathed in Battle. They had thought that he would be able to sort out the key points in this matter and would not speak carelessly. However, they heard him shout again, "Where is the young master? Are you in?" "Oh, a guild? Who came up with such a genius idea?" Han family young master asked. "Cough, are you coming?" Gu Fei asked. "Let me kill you first." Han family young master said. "Why bother? We're all on the same side, huh?" Gu Fei laughed it off. "You're establishing a guild now because you're short on manpower, right? You're planning on attacking the northeast camp?" Han family young master said. "We've been exposed, we've really been exposed." Gu Fei and Sword Demon had tears streaming down their faces. If Unscathed in Battle was by their side, Gu Fei would have attacked without hesitation. Maybe even Sword Demon would. That's right. You guys have to be careful," Gu Fei said. "Creating a diversion?" Han family young master asked. "You saw through it again," Gu Fei said. "Do you think you can fool me with that little bit of intelligence?" Han family young master mocked. "Then guess when I'll go to Yunjiao Lake to find Gilkino," Gu Fei said. "You know Gilkino is here? There's no reason. Who gave you that information? Someone who's lost his soul under the tree?" Han family young master said. "Brother Yu, you're still pretending to be dead. Come out." Gu Fei decided to change the topic. Brother Yu finally showed himself. He already knew what was going to happen. Once he joined a new guild, his position would be very clear. Thus, he didn't hesitate to open the message and said in the channel, "PM. Brother Yu, you're really a smart person." Gu Fei praised. "Establishing a guild, what a good idea. Why didn't I think of it in the beginning?" Brother Yu's message immediately arrived. It's all right, but right now we don't have enough manpower. We haven't even gathered the 20 people we need. Do you have any suitable candidates?" Gu Fei asked. "Discuss it face to face. Discuss it face to face." Brother Yu seemed to be a bit excited. "Brother Yu should have a way," Gu Fei said after turning off the message. AI. Unscathed in battle. Sword Demon still had some hatred. Forget it, it's just a camp. Gu Fei comforted. If it's just a small advantage, then forget it. The problem is, if we do this, the news of us establishing a guild will spread out. Think about it, right now, the players only know that we're enemies. They don't know about the sudden appearance of so many people. This is our true advantage, but if we do this, it'll all be exposed. Young Master's words, how could Danan and the others not think of it? Sword Demon said. This. Gu Fei discovered that after establishing a guild, the level of struggle immediately increased. His brain couldn't keep up. This was no longer a battlefield where one person could do whatever they wanted. With a guild, it was a backer, but at the same time, it was also a restriction. Even if Gu Fei could calmly kill thousands of people, what about the others? They couldn't do anything to Gu Fei, but they could vent on Gu Fei's companions. Gu Fei suddenly realized that he was the same as Shi Xiaotian. He was also a big bomb in the guild. If he wasn't careful, he could blow up both the enemy and himself. Gu Fei's face was full of tears. Why was he always in the same situation as this swindler? They obviously had two different identities and different qualities. Then, Gu Fei discovered that the reborn amethyst he was in was actually a very suitable guild for him. No matter how much the others hated him, they were too embarrassed to vent their anger on this group of harmonious girls. Of course, this was with the exception of scum like Non-Smiler. Not good, I have to quickly send a message to Danan and the others. Sword Demon suddenly shouted. What message? Gu Fei and the others were confused, but they saw that Sword Demon had already started a private message with a dull look. After a while, he let out a long breath. That was close. What's wrong? Everyone asked. They were almost tricked by Gongzi. If we go over, will we still be able to see them? Sword Demon wiped his sweat. Fuck, that's too despicable. Everyone was horrified. They hadn't even started fighting yet and the scheming had already begun. Han family young master's trick was easy. Of course he knew that Jian Nan and the others weren't in a guild right now. He just had to pretend to be one of them and ask them to meet at a certain place. At that time, it wouldn't be hard for him to do it 100 times. Fortunately, Sword Demon reacted quickly enough and predicted that Han family young master would do this. Quickly think, are there any loopholes? Gu Fei said. We have to treat anyone who knows Gongzi with caution. Beware of traps. Sword Demon said. Everyone nodded. In the end, Gu Fei suddenly asked, Brother, you wouldn't be tricking us, right? At $% and everyone had the urge to kill Gu Fei. Why did he have to think of such a complicated thing? The scene of meeting Brother Yu was really weird. Everyone stared at Brother Yu like they were looking at a thief. Brother Yu had originally rushed over excitedly, but when faced with this situation he felt uneasy. No one spoke for a long while. Everyone was sneakily sizing him up. Hey, I'm here. Brother Yu said. Everyone nodded. Aren't we going to form a guild? Brother Yu asked. Everyone nodded. What's wrong with you guys? If Brother Yu didn't ask, then why not just let him die? Honestly speaking, Brother Yu, being a spy is such a classy job, but it doesn't really suit you. Gu Fei said. Spy? Brother Yu was shocked. Stop pretending. We already know that Gongzi sent you. Yutian Shenming laughed coldly. What? Brother Yu said. Stubbornly resisting to the end will only lead to death. From the honest Sword Demon's mouth, one could imagine how destructive it was. Brother Yu was about to cry. Okay, I don't think there's a problem, Shi Xiaotian said. How do you know? A liar's intuition. Everyone once again looked at Brother Yu. I'm really one of our own. Brother Yu felt wronged. Let's trust him for now? Everyone discussed. Brother Yu waited at the side for the verdict. I have an idea. Brother Yu, you can send a message in the channel. Say, Han family young master is a bastard. Yutian Shenming said. Yutian, you're really bad. Brother Yu's face turned green. Yeah, too bad. Gu Fei and the Sword Demon said. Then, they turned to Brother Yu and asked, Did you send it? Just let me die. Brother Yu looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. Tears blurred his eyes. The sky is so beautiful. Why is my future so chaotic? He thought. So, everyone. At this moment, a timid voice greeted everyone. Even Gu Fei was focused on observing Brother Yu. He didn't notice that someone was approaching. He immediately pulled out his sword and shouted, "Who is it?" A girl behind him turned pale. When Fireball saw who it was, she shouted, "Brother Zue, don't attack. We're on the same side. We're on the same side." Gu Fei was confused. Brother Yu also saw the girl. He looked at Fireball in surprise. "You know her too?" "Of course. The clothes I'm wearing right now were made by her. Isn't that right?" Fireball immediately moved closer. The girl was so shocked that she dodged to the side. She looked at Fireball in fear and said, "You're an immortal among flowers. I don't know you." "Huh, how would you know that I'm an immortal among flowers if you don't know me?" Fireball laughed out loud. Just as he was about to continue teasing her, Imperial Sky God Ming came over and pushed him to the side, then said to the lady in a refined and courteous manner, "There are hoodlums roaming around here, but big sister, you do not need to be afraid. I will protect you. I am Imperial Sky God Ming." Yutian Shenming? The girl was shocked when she heard the name. The pervert Yutian Shenming who calls girls sister? Imperial Sky Divine Ming was startled upon hearing this, but he quickly calmed down. Being a peak expert actually comes with a lot of pressure, because there are always people who are jealous of me who will spread rumors to destroy my reputation, big sis. Young miss, don't take it to heart. You see, I don't call every girl I meet big sister. You already did. Did I? You heard wrong. Yutian Shenming said. Hey, Yutian Shenming, don't you know the rules? Fireball, who had been pushed away by Yutian Shenming, came back to express his dissatisfaction. The two of them quickly argued. Why is a woman here for no reason? Who can explain this to me first? Gu Fei couldn't help but want to swing his sword. I'll explain. Brother Yu quickly ran out. This is my cousin, shameful face. Cousin? Everyone was shocked. Yutian Shenming and Fireball had already run over. They looked from one side to the other and finally said in unison to Brother Yu, "Brother-in-law. Fuck, I'll kill you." Brother Yu was furious. Stop, everyone stop. Gu Fei swung his sword and chopped a passing monster into pieces. No one dared to make a ruckus and the scene quieted down. Sword Demon quickly came over and said, Brother Yu, why do you have a cousin? I've never heard you mention it before. Yeah, I haven't, but I've mentioned it to Qianli. Brother Yu said. Really? Gu Fei was surprised. Yeah, I've introduced her to you. She's a player in Cloud City who makes clothes. I even recommended you to repair clothes. Brother Yu said. Yeah, I've also introduced her. Fireball quickly came over and said. You didn't say she was your cousin at that time. Gu Fei said. I wanted to introduce her when we actually met. Brother Yu said. Now, Brother Yu, do you want your cousin to join as well? Sword Demon said. No problem, right? Brother Yu asked. Of course not. Yutian Shenming and Fireball said in unison. Cousin, let me introduce you. This is Qianli Drunk, this is Sword Demon, and this is Shi Xiaotian. Those two are just passing by, so it's fine if you don't know them. Brother Yu said. Hey. Fireball and Yutian Shenming were annoyed. Luckily, they had already introduced themselves. The guild already has 2 beauties. The two were excited. I think this guild has a great future. Fireball whispered to Yutian Shenming. I think so too. Yutian Shenming said. The road to the future is long. Fireball said. Luckily, we're young enough. Yutian Shenming said. It's good to be young. The two cried in happiness. After Shy Face was introduced by Brother Yu, she still lowered her head shyly. After sneaking a glance at the others, she quietly walked over to Shi Xiaoyan's side. Keep your distance from her. She's a liar. Gu Fei quickly reminded. She looked at Shi Xiaotian and hurriedly dodged. She then looked at the others. 2 perverts, one was really fierce, and one was really ugly, Although it was a little hurtful to say it out loud, he was really ugly. She instantly felt that she couldn't get along with these people at all. What was her cousin doing? She had the urge to run away when she was with such a group of people. Cousin, don't be afraid. These people are basically good people. Brother Yu came over and said, Hey, what do you mean by basically? The good people had a lot of opinions. Sister, come with me. I won't lie to you. Shi Xiaotian said. I'll still follow cousin. Shy Face was still very timid. What should we do? When the bandits come, won't they scare us to death? Gu Fei said. Shy Face's face immediately turned white. What, there's still a bunch of bandits? What kind of people are these people? They're too scary. Brother Yu explained on the side that they shouldn't be afraid. They're all good people. He said it until he was a little dazed. Speaking of which, are these people good people? Brother Yu and Shy Face joined. Currently, there were still 7 people missing. Gu Fei Sword Demon immediately asked Brother Yu if he had any friends that could come over. There's one person. I don't know if you guys remember. Brother Yu said. Her name is Yun Xiang. She's a mage. Brother Yu said. Who is that? Gu Fei asked. I seem to have an impression. Sword Demon said. You were cut by me before? Gu Fei asked. During the mercenary competition, we had an opponent, Yun Xiang mercenary group. Do you remember? Brother Yu asked. Oh, I remember now. The leader of the group that retreated said he wanted to join us, but he didn't do anything in the end. Why, do you still keep in contact with him? Sword Demon asked. Yes, he added me as a friend. He kept saying that if we needed new people, we should consider him. Brother Yu said, that's a mercenary group. Doesn't he have a guild? Sword Demon said, I can ask him now. Brother Yu said, then you can ask him. Brother Yu quickly contacted him and quickly replied, he doesn't have a guild right now. How about it? If there's no problem, I'll call him over. We don't know much about this person. Brother Yu, what do you think? Sword Demon asked. He's a good person. Brother Yu said. He looked at the people around him and finally said with certainty, very good. Hey, what do you mean by that look? Yutian Shenming said. It seems to be full of provocation? Fireball asked. It's a comparison. Compared to the two of you, of course he stands out. Gu Fei said. You're not much better. These words could only be said in his heart. Then call him over. Sword Demon nodded. Brother Yu quickly sent the message and began to search through his friend list. As he looked at it, he muttered, this won't do, he has a guild. That won't do, he's too trashy. This won't do, his character is bad. That won't do, he's too troublesome. Brother Yu muttered for half an hour. From this, it could be seen how huge Brother Yu's friend list was. When he finished muttering and summarizing on the book, Gu Fei and the others had already barbecued meat. Jian Nan Yu and the others had also arrived. Yun Xiang had also come over and was getting to know everyone. Shi Xiaotian was indeed a swindler. His social skills were very good. He had completely gained the trust of Shameful Face and was discussing this spring's new clothing styles with her. Gu Fei came over to remind her to be careful of swindlers. In the end, Shi Xiaotian also reminded Shameful Face to be careful of violent killers. One had to know that the profession of swindler could hide. If you could tell at a glance that he was a swindler, how could you lie? Gu Fei, this killer, was so bold that the entire game knew it. Shameful Face was obviously more afraid of him and actively kept her distance from Gu Fei. Gu Fei was at his wit's end. In the end, Brother Yu also finished sorting out his friend list and called everyone over to discuss. Gu Fei suddenly received a system notification. He looked and saw that Strange Eye and Yen Xiaozhu were online. He quickly said, Hey, I have 2 people here. Let me ask if they want to come. Everyone asked. Strange Eye and Yen Xiaozhu, Gu Fei said. Long live Qianli. Yutian Shenming and Fireball shouted. I knew it. If I follow Brother Zue, there will be girls. Fireball excitedly hugged Yutian Shenming's shoulder and shook it vigorously. Gu Fei sent a message to the Strange Eye sisters. The 2 of them were wild players without a guild. After hearing such a fresh idea, they felt that it was a little interesting, so they happily agreed. 16 people. We're still short 4. Boss Sword Demon announced. Chapter 714. While Strange Eye and Yen Xiaozhu were on their way, everyone surrounded Brother Yu and listened to him introduce the people he had selected from his friends. Sword Demon took Brother Yu's notebook and glanced at the information of the people on it. He returned it to Brother Yu and said calmly, "Brother Yu, can you cross out those who aren't in Cloud City?" "Why would I do that? Building a guild is a long-term plan. It's not convenient now, but we can absorb them in the future. We need to think long-term. We need to absorb excellent players from all over the world." Brother Yu clenched his fist. "Can you get 4 people first and let us build the guild first?" Sword Demon coughed up blood. Brother Yu was a bit embarrassed. There was no one on his list from Cloud City. Brother Yu explained embarrassedly, "My more reliable friends in Cloud City are you guys." Due to the uniqueness of Brother Yu's circle of friends, he didn't make friends in the game like other players. Most of his friends were made on the forums and then added each other's IDs in the game. Therefore, his friends were all over the world. On average, he didn't stand out in Cloud City, where he was born and raised. The extra friends here were Gu Fei's group. "Why don't we go to the leveling area and open recruitment?" Gu Fei said. "The basic 20 people have to be reliable. Otherwise, if one of them suddenly leaves, the guild will automatically disband," Sword Demon said. Gu Fei was depressed and scolded everyone. "Everyone says they're experts, but you can't even find 4 people? Damn, you don't have the right to criticize us when you don't even want to come in yourself." Everyone condemned Gu Fei. "If it's not enough, I'll talk to the other side and help you make up the numbers," Gu Fei said. "Why don't you talk to them and borrow a few people from Amethyst?" Yutian Shenming suggested. "Yutian, you're a genius." Fireball was excited. "Do you want some grapes?" Gu Fei asked. "That's great." Yutian Shenming was also excited. Gu Fei glared at him. Yutian Shenming quickly restrained himself and said calmly, "The main thing is to make up for the number of people. It doesn't really matter who comes." "Borrow 4 people from them?" Gu Fei consulted the Sword Demon. Sword Demon knew that Amethyst girls were more honest and kind. They would never do something irresponsible like abruptly withdrawing from the guild. "Yutian, help me contact them," Gu Fei said. Yutian Shenming didn't hesitate and immediately asked for information. Shi Xiaotian poked his head over and interrupted, "They're at Yunjiao Farm." "How do you know?" Gu Fei asked. "You still came up with the same idea as me," Shi Xiaotian said. "You're looking for Amethyst girls to make up for the numbers?" Gu Fei asked. "Yeah." "You didn't say anything. Did you want me to say it?" "It's just 1 sentence. You can just say it." "Am I not afraid of you cutting me down?" "Do I cut people down as I please?" Everyone nodded. "You are." Gu Fei was in tears. How did this happen? Was he really like this in the eyes of the public? He always had his own principles when it came to cutting people down. "They're at Yunjiao Farm," Yutian Shenming confirmed. "Let's go." Gu Fei waved his hand. Everyone looked at him without moving. "What's wrong?" Gu Fei asked. "That's the guild encampment." Sword Demon said. "Ah." Gu Fei suddenly exclaimed. Could it be that the young master has already done something to the Amethyst rebirth? That's possible. Sword Demon was moved. "Don't worry, I've already told them. Han family young master hasn't contacted them either," Shi Xiaotian said. "Without telling them, would they just attack?" Gu Fei said. "Bringing people to attack a group of girls? I can't believe you thought of something like that," Shi Xiaotian said. "What's wrong? Aren't the girls human?" Gu Fei asked. Everyone was speechless. This guy only had PvP in his head. He didn't even know if they were male or female. "It's not convenient to go to the guild encampment. You're too eye-catching, so I've arranged another place with them," Shi Xiaotian said. "Should we go now?" Sword Demon asked. "Let's go." Shi Xiaotian led the way. "Be careful of traps," Gu Fei said to Sword Demon. Sword Demon didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Is it really that dangerous? You've forgotten the pain after the scar healed. How did you lose your first frostbite memories? Gu Fei said. It's been a long time. Did she lie to you? Sword Demon asked. Of course, why else would I join Reborn Amethyst? Gu Fei was depressed. Yutian Shenming and Fireball heard this and were even more depressed than Gu Fei. Something like that happened? Why didn't she lie to me? Both sides agreed to meet at a place where there weren't many guilds wandering around. Gu Fei saw the group of girls from afar and hurriedly waved his hand to greet them. When he got closer, he went straight to the point. Did I tell you who it was? Then who was who? What did she tell you? July asked. You didn't say anything? Gu Fei looked at Xiaotian. Xiaotian turned his head, hummed a song, and ignored them. What is it? July looked at the two. Ahem, it's like this, your chance to repay a favor is here, Gu Fei said. Why should I repay a favor? July didn't understand. Didn't I help you guys form a guild before? Now we're also lacking people, let's borrow 4 people. Gu Fei said. Oh, you want to form a guild? July asked. It's not me. It's the Sword Ghost. This is what we're thinking. Gu Fei introduced their idea. Chiue only nodded silently and didn't respond. How is it? Gu Fei asked. He felt that with the kindness of these girls, they definitely wouldn't refuse such a small matter, so he didn't take it to heart. How could we lend people to the enemy? You city guard slave, die. A figure jumped out from the group of girls, and Gu Fei knew who it was just by hearing the voice. Slender Waist Dance wielded her dagger and attacked. Normally, she would have to worry about messing around with Gu Fei. After all, it wasn't good to let him drop a level. Now that she didn't lose anything in the city battle, she had nothing to worry about. Even so, Silver Waist Dance was no match for Gu Fei even if she did not hold back. Gu Fei raised his hand and caught her wrist. With a twist of his body, he lifted his shoulder and lowered his waist. Then, he took the opportunity to throw Silver Waist Dance over his shoulder and onto the ground. The surroundings were silent. The people who came with Gu Fei were all thinking that this son of a bitch was really ruthless. He didn't even show mercy to beauties. How could they know that Gu Fei felt that he was already being lenient? Didn't he use his foot to flatten Slender Waist Dance's head? Gu Fei dragged Slender Waist Dance up and said, "Stop messing around. We're talking about serious matters here." It wasn't the first time that Slender Waist Dance had been thrown to the ground by Gu Fei. She seemed to be a little numb. When she stood up, she didn't seem to care at all. She didn't shout that she wanted to fight with her life. She just looked at Gu Fei with disdain and said, "We're attacking the city. If we lend people to your construction bank, will you come and cause trouble for us? How did you come up with such a genius idea?" Genius, someone's calling you. Gu Fei turned his head and called out to Xiaotian. When Sword Demon heard that the other party didn't seem to want to help, he hurriedly came over and said, "That's true. Right now, we're all enemies. This favor doesn't seem very reliable, right? Forget it, we'll think of another way." So we're enemies? All right then, we're enemies. After Gu Fei finished speaking, he pulled out his sword. Everyone's expression changed. They all took a step back and kept their distance from Gu Fei. Only Slender Waist Dance stood in front of him without moving. She continued to look at him with disdain. You want to kill us? You can insta-kill others, but can you insta-kill me? Of course not, I was just joking. Gu Fei sheathed his sword and said, "Then we'll find someone else. Don't be polite when we meet on the battlefield." Wait. Seeing that Gu Fei and Sword Demon were really about to leave, Lu Luo suddenly spoke up. Gu Fei turned his head. Actually, he didn't believe that these girls would care so much about the rules set by the system. These people always help their own people and not reason. Why wouldn't they help? He thought to himself that the girls were only joking. It's a city war now. If we lend people to you to form a guild, then when you come back to deal with the players attacking the city, won't we be looked down upon? So, we need to think of a better way. Luo Luo said. Oh. What do you mean by a better way? Gu Fei asked. Let's give it a try. Luo Luo said to July. But July nodded. Everyone was at a loss. They didn't know what these girls were up to. Gu Fei suddenly received a system notification. You have become the guild leader of Reborn Amethyst. What's going on? Gu Fei panicked. It was already awkward enough to mix with the girls of Reborn Amethyst. Now he had become the leader of a female army. How could he still have the face to mix with them? Yeah, now our guild leader belongs to the defending side. I wonder what will happen to our guild? Luo said. Everyone was in an uproar. Looking at Gu Fei's blank expression, they all knew what had happened. Yutian, Shenming, and Fireball were the quickest to react. They immediately rushed to Gu Fei's side. Quick, drunk bro, hurry and add me to the guild. Master Qianli. Ancestor. The two kept begging. Gu Fei expressionlessly turned around and glanced at the two. The two immediately shut their mouths. The surroundings were instantly silent. Qianli, can you see the message? At this time, there was a message in the guild channel. Gu Fei opened it and saw that it was a message from Luo. He replied, yes. It's done. Looks like we're also part of the defending side. Luo said. Aren't we the slaves of the defending side? Gu Fei asked. Do you have any culture? Are girls supposed to call me a servant? Even if they call us slaves? Slender Waist Dance said. Gu Fei was speechless. Looking at the smiling faces of the girls in front of him, he felt like he had fallen into another trap. This was a trap. Gu Fei suddenly turned around and looked at Xiaoyun. Genius, this is your idea, right? Do I even need an idea? Xiaotian smiled. Even if July came over and asked you directly, you wouldn't refuse, right? Gu Fei thought that was true. He said helplessly, what about now? Add Sword Demon and the others? Hearing this, Sword Ghost's face turned green. Sneaking into a pure girls' guild? The kind Sword Demon also felt that it was quite embarrassing. On the other hand, Yutian, Shenming, and Fireball cheered. They couldn't wait to queue up in front of Gu Fei to sign up. Looking at the two's anxious faces, even if the Reborn Amethyst had such a plan, she might have to cancel it. Moreover, they didn't mean it that way. Luo said, there's no need for that. You can just pick 4 people to make up the numbers, Guild Master. Oh, then who wants to come? Gu Fei wanted to be a democracy. Slender Waist Dance was the first to volunteer. She understood people quite well. She knew that the Reborn Amethyst Guild, regardless of whether it was attacking or defending the city, was just a gentle quest. It wouldn't cause any big conflicts. It was better to follow the Reborn Amethyst Guild. I'll go too. Fiercely clenched his fist and signed up as well. Alright, let's have 2 more. Let's have a violent one. Gu Fei said. Who are you calling violent? Slender Waist Dance wanted to twist Gu Fei's head. I'm violent, Gu Fei quickly said. Let me help you guys too. I don't think you guys have a cleric. Luo said. Gu Fei's guild only had 2 clerics, Inakamu and Lin Sensen, who were part of Kenyu's group of 7. Yup, 1 more. Last one. Who else wants to come? Gu Fei made it seem like he was having a big sale. The girls all knew that if they went over there, they would have to go into battle. There were very few girls who liked this kind of content. The rest of them didn't say anything. Gu Fei, on the other hand, really wanted to go over, so he suggested, what will happen if I go over now? Will the guild become the attacking side again? Someone in the guild was confused. I don't know. What will happen? Do you want to give it a try? Gu Fei asked. I don't think so. Luo said, I feel like because of the change of guild leader, the position of the guild has been jumping around. It's like a bug. It's best not to use it too much. I don't want the system to notice and punish us. Is it really that bad? Gu Fei said. I think so. Luo said seriously. Gu Fei didn't really understand the game, so he couldn't say anything. He could only continue to call for another person. The girls pushed and pushed each other. Gu Fei couldn't take it anymore and called out, Little Rain, come with me. There's a big quest. Really? Then I'll go. June Rain was immediately lured away. The girls all mourned. This girl was too easy to trick. 20 people are here. Gu Fei turned around and announced. Slender Waist Dance, Fiercely, Luo, and June Rain had already stepped out of the group of girls. Reborn Amethyst didn't have much combat power other than Slender Waist Dance, so Sword Demon didn't have much hope for them. Now that Slender Waist Dance had joined, it didn't matter who came with them. He nodded and said, "Then let's go back to the city and build the guild." Gu Fei came over and whispered, "What if we go back and find out that we can't build the guild?" Sword Demon was stunned. "What do you think we should do?" Gu Fei looked back at the big group of people behind him and thought that if they couldn't build the guild, he would be scolded to death by these people. So he patted Sword Demon's shoulder with a pained expression, "Then die." Gu Fei and Sword Demon were very experienced in how to sneak into the main city from the battlefield. However, Gu Fei's current attire would attract attention wherever he went. For convenience's sake, he had to change his attire. Then he turned to the people who were about to enter the city and explained one last point: never attack the NPCs, and don't give any help to the players who were attacking the city. It's too eye-catching to enter together. Let's split up. Reborn Amethyst and the others had a total of nearly 60 people. They were divided into 4 groups, led by Gu Fei, Sword Demon, Strange Eye, and Yen Xiaozhu, who had entered and left the main city before. Everything went smoothly, and the 4 groups entered the main city one after another. The reborn Amethyst girls were shocked by the empty main city. It was as if they had never been here before. "All right, let's go do the quest in peace." Someone shouted and the girls were about to disperse. Gu Fei saw June Rain running quite fast and quickly called out, "Little Rain, where are you going?" "Quest." June Rain blinked. "Don't rush, your quest hasn't started yet," Gu Fei said. "Then when will it start?" June Rain saw that her sisters had already scattered to find NPCs to test out the quest. She was anxious, very anxious. You're now a neutral third-party player without a guild. Even if you follow them, you won't be able to receive the quest. "You'll have to wait for us to build a new guild," Gu Fei said. "Why don't I have a guild?" June Rain wanted to open the guild interface, but it was nowhere to be found. "Because I just moved you out of the guild," Gu Fei said. "Why?" June Rain asked. After a while, she still didn't understand what everyone was doing. Gu Fei sweated and looked around. "Is there anyone who can do it?" Lu Luo stepped out and pulled June Rain. "Little Rain, come here, there's a quest." Little Rain immediately followed Luo Luo to the guild building. Luo Luo turned around and cast a healing spell at Gu Fei with disdain. "Wow, this girl. Say, if I tell her that she can receive a super quest if she kisses me, will she fall for it?" Fireball whispered to Yutian Shenming. "Try it," Yutian Shenming said. "You've already tried?" Fireball was alert. "Cough, how could I do that kind of thing?" Yutian Shenming said with a straight face. Fireball immediately realized something was wrong. He turned his head and saw that the dagger and Fiercely's fist were only 0.01 centimeters away from him. Fireball didn't even dare to breathe. No one cared about the reborn Amethyst anymore. The 20 of them and Gu Fei arrived at the guild building. Sword Demon put all 19 people into the party. This was a necessary procedure to apply for a guild. They arrived in front of the NPC and explained their purpose. Gu Fei and Sword Demon looked at each other with apprehension. They didn't expect the NPC to be even more enthusiastic than usual after hearing the application. He said excitedly, "Good, very special and extremely good. At this critical juncture, warriors like you are needed to defend the main city." "Heh, it seems like building a guild is also a kind of quest?" Sword Demon was surprised. This NPC's words were very characteristic of a city war. In the end, he was immediately stuck at the next step. Sword Demon turned his head to look at everyone blankly. "What should we call the guild? What was your previous name?" Gu Fei asked. "Defiance of the Heavens," Sword Demon said. "What does it mean?" Gu Fei asked. "Such an arrogant and shameless name. I know it was Gongzi who came up with it," Yutian Shenming said. Gu Fei looked at Sword Demon. Sword Demon nodded and looked ashamed. Obviously, he also felt that the guild name was very immodest. "If that's the case, then with my help, how about we call this guild Defiance of the Heavens?" "Fuck." Everyone gave Gu Fei the middle finger. Butterfly Knot. The naming rights of the new guild are in the midst of bidding. There's only 1 day left. Everyone hurry up and bid. Currently, The first bid is by Comrade Gu Fei. The naming rights are Defiance of the Heavens. Students with better ideas, hurry up and defeat him. Chapter 7:15. The guild name was being gathered. Naming things reflected one's personal style. Sword Demon ignored Yutian Shinming and Fireball. He didn't even want to talk to them. Jianan Yuki and the others were people of action. Names didn't matter to them. They actually wanted more tangible benefits. Since the recent gold farming job was mainly using the studio's name, the 7 of them suggested calling it Qianli's Drunk Studio. They could also advertise it. Sword Demon obviously felt that the name was easy to misunderstand. He didn't have the great dream of turning a guild into a studio, so he rejected it again. Shy Face was just like her name. She was extremely shy and hid to the side when everyone was talking. Every time Shi Xiaotian spoke, Gu Fei would stare at him and find fault with him. Thus, Shi Xiaotian tactfully kept quiet. Yun Xiang was the only one among the 20 who didn't have any connections. She was careful with her words and actions, so she didn't say anything. Then there was the reborn Amethyst Fourth Lady. Slender Waist Dance was more proactive and arrogant. She expressed that the name Very Overpowered was not bad, but since the name was only because of Gu Fei's existence, she felt that with her, it could be called Most Overpowered. I don't think the word most is good. Gu Fei said, as the saying goes, arrogance leads to loss, modesty leads to gain. I think we should be more modest and cautious. Very overpowered is appropriate. Calling it most overpowered is not modest. Is that so? Slender Waist Dance said, I'm just speaking the truth. With you and me, isn't it the most overpowered? That's true, but as the saying goes, leave a way out in case we meet again in the future. We still have to leave some room for maneuver. Right now, it's the most overpowered. What if one day we don't play anymore? Wouldn't this name not live up to its name? This will put a lot of pressure on the remaining guild members. We have to think of others. Gu Fei said. And that makes sense. Slender Waist Dance nodded. I couldn't tell. You still have some brains. Let's call it Very Overpowered. After saying that, Slender Waist Dance turned to the NPC and said, let's call it Very Overpowered. Thank you. The Sword Demon burst into tears. How could it be settled just like that? What kind of modesty was that? Sword Demon could already foresee how difficult it would be to manage the guild with such a member. It was hard to say if rebuilding the guild this time was a blessing or a curse. Fortunately, the NPCs were not so casual. The one who was currently establishing a guild was Sword Demon. The NPCs would not just listen to a random passerby and name the Sword Demon's guild. Therefore, they ignored Slender Waist Dance and continued to wait for Sword Demon to speak. My words don't work? Slender Waist Dance was very unhappy that she was ignored. She turned back to look at Sword Demon. Sword Demon stammered, do I really have to call it very heaven-defying? As he spoke, he looked at the others. Does anyone have any objections? Who has objections? Gu Fei and Slender Waist Dance said in unison. Those who had objections also swallowed their words. For example, Brother Yu had originally thought of a name. Looking at this scene, if he really replaced his name with Very Overpowered, he would definitely be crazily suppressed by these 2 heaven-defying monsters. It was better for him to live a few more years. Brother Yu was a very decisive person, so he immediately said, Very Overpowered isn't bad either. It's very catchy. For Sword Demon, it also has the meaning of surpassing the past. Don't you think it's not good? Brother Yu. Sword Demon understood Brother Yu's temper. He didn't believe that Brother Yu would like such an arrogant name. He definitely saw that the 2 of them had the upper hand, so he immediately hid under the tree to enjoy the shade. Gu Fei wasn't someone who didn't know how to read people's expressions. He saw that Sword Demon still had a lot of objections to this guild name, so he gave Sword Demon a chance to speak. Sword Demon, do you think this name is not good? Then what do you think? Sword Demon had a headache. He liked to smoke, so he named himself Smoker. Later, he didn't want to use this name anymore. Coincidentally, the new class was the Magic Swordsman, so he called himself Sword Demon. It was obvious that Sword Demon was a nameless alien, but this was the last chance to refute Gu Fei and Slender Waist Dance. Sword Demon thought hard and squeezed his brain cells. Finally, he came up with a name. Alliance of Friendship. How about this? Half of the people vomited on the spot. Gu Fei used his strong willpower as a martial artist to hold it in and repeated, Alliance of Friendship? What does everyone think? The other half finally vomited too. Sword Demon, do you dare to be more unsophisticated? Do you dare? Led by Yutian Shenming, the acquaintances shouted at Sword Demon at the top of their lungs. Even Luo couldn't stand it anymore. If this is the name, I'll go back to Amethyst. Gu Fei spread his hands at Sword Demon and said helplessly, I've tried my best. Then it's very overpowered. Sword Demon lowered his head in shame. There's nothing wrong with this name. I think it's very funny. Why don't you like it, Sword Demon? Luo asked. It's not that I don't like it. I just feel a little uncomfortable, said Sword Demon. Sword Demon, you're used to being low-key now. I remember when I first met you in the game, you had a bunch of minions and you were quite arrogant and pretentious. Fireball said. Did I? Sword Demon asked. Otherwise, why would you be tortured by Brother Zue? Fireball said. I can't bear to look back on the past. Sword Demon was sad. Then we'll use this name. Do you have any objections? Asked Gu Fei. No objections, no objections. Sword Ghost didn't dare to have any more objections. His naming was like poisoning, and he almost poisoned everyone to death. The guild name is very overpowered. After Sword Demon compromised, he told the NPC that he still had one last hope in his heart, which was that the guild name was repeated. However, he knew that this was unlikely. Brother Yu had recorded almost all the guilds in Cloud City. The name, very overpowered, was more unique. There was Brother You Should Know. Sure enough, the NPC didn't say anything and quickly registered everyone. The 20 people received a system question. Are you willing to become a member of the very overpowered guild? Everyone answered yes, so the next step was to choose the pattern of the guild emblem. The system had a rich selection of emblem patterns to choose from. The ones that were already occupied naturally wouldn't appear in the selection. In addition, it also provided a special DIY function for players. However, the system would automatically compare the pattern made by the players with the current guild emblem pattern. If the similarity was more than 80%, it would be rejected as a reason. Do you want to pick one or make one yourself? Sword Demon asked everyone. Just pick one. Make it one that's heaven-defying. Gu Fei said, You do it. I don't know what kind of pattern is overpowered characteristics. Sword Demon retreated to the side. Gu Fei didn't hold back. He went forward and flipped through 2 pages on the table. He immediately pointed to one and said, Isn't this fine? Everyone gathered around to take a look. They all felt that it was extremely ugly. They simply couldn't understand Gu Fei's aesthetics. However, looking at Gu Fei's indifferent expression, everyone suddenly realized, this guy didn't join the guild, so whether the emblem was ugly or beautiful, he didn't need to wear it. The irresponsible Gu Fei was angrily scolded by everyone and chased out of the guild building. A circle of people looked through the table. The highest pass rate was 16 people. For people didn't agree, so they continued to look through it. Finally, everyone was tired. Sword Demon said, Self-made? Self-made doesn't necessarily mean everyone likes it. There's no need for a pattern. Use words, said Sword Demon. This was the most common type of self-made guild emblem. Choose the name of your own guild or a certain word and engrave it on the emblem. That doesn't look like an emblem. It looks more like a seal, said Luo. Then you guys pick. I don't care. I agree. Call me when you're done. I'm going out to get some fresh air. Sword Demon stooped out of the building. Outside the building, Gu Fei was practicing boxing. When he saw Sword Demon come out with a beautiful ending, he came over and asked, Done? No, I'm still picking. Sword Demon looked tired. Gu Fei was very sympathetic. What do you want? I want a cigarette, said Sword Demon. Go forward, turn right at the end of the street, about 200 meters, said Gu Fei. What? There's someone selling cigarettes? Sword Demon was startled. No, it's the offline area. Go offline and draw. Gu Fei said. Sword Demon was speechless. Thus, Gu Fei began to practice boxing again. Sword Demon watched for a while and his hands itched to spar with Gu Fei. Gu Fei was never polite when sparring. He beat Sword Demon until his teeth fell all over the floor. Sword Demon's mood became even more depressed. However, just by sparring, he asked a few questions about fighting. He felt that he had made some progress and was quite gratified. During this time, two girls who were reborn as Amethyst passed by and asked in surprise what the two were doing. Where's CCB? Gu Fei glanced at the building. CCB takes so long? The two girls were surprised. Everyone entered the city together and more than an hour had passed. Gu Fei sighed and casually asked, "How's the mission?" "A lot of missions." The two girls were excited. The girls weren't as passionate about quests as June Rain, but they were more passionate than the average player. Some quests in the city war could only be completed once, while some could be completed repeatedly by multiple players. These two girls were doing such quests as they hurried on with their journey. Good luck. Gu Fei nodded his head. Yes, guild leader. The two girls laughed and ran away. Sword Demon blankly watched the two run away. Gu Fei called out from the side, "Hey, you're calling me. Your guild is still choosing a badge." "I know." Just as Sword Demon said these three words, someone inside roared, "It's chosen. It's finally done." Sword Demon let out a long breath. Gu Fei followed him into the building. The 19 people gathered there and pointed at a badge happily. Sword Demon walked forward and looked. It was the word, "an eye." He spat out blood. "Isn't this still a word?" "It's not a word, it's a picture, but it looks like the word, an eye, right?" Luluo said. "It's been hard on you guys." Sword Demon didn't say anything else. He specified the badge to the NPC and then paid the fees needed to apply for the guild. Not a single coin could be missed. This was originally a huge sum of money, but what kind of huge sum could stop Gu Fei and the others? Sword Demon casually paid it. Thus, the guild was officially established. The system announced to everyone, "You have become a very OP member of the guild." Then, the guild badge was distributed to everyone's pockets. The NPC at the side said sincerely, "Warriors, a disaster is coming to this city. Pick up the weapons in your hands and erect the righteousness in your hearts. For freedom, for..." Everyone left. The guild was already established. Who would listen to the NPC's nagging? Out of the guild building, everyone let out a long breath. As the guild leader, Sword Demon turned around and wondered if he should say a few words. Suddenly, Gu Fei said, "Why is there a person missing?" Sword Demon was startled. He counted 20 people. Sure enough, one was missing. But now that there was the guild channel, it was easy to find people. Just as he was about to send a message, Luo turned back into the building and shouted, "Little Rain, come out quickly. That's not a mission." Everyone craned their necks to look into the building. June Rain was holding a small notebook and devoutly recording everything the NPC said. Brother Yu quickly found his own shadow in this scene. His eyes were wet and he said to his left and right, "This girl will definitely have a great future." June Rain was pulled out by Luo and the 21 people finally gathered. Everyone was tactful. They knew that the newly established guild should at least let the Sword Demon say a few words. So everyone was very quiet and looked seriously at Sword Demon. Even the Sword Ghost was moved by this scene. At the end of the day, they were still behaving like a guild. Thinking about it, he cleared his throat and said, "Ahem, the guild is now established. During the city war, of course, we have to work hard for the city war. Everyone understands the situation. We definitely won't have a chance in a direct confrontation. I think we can use the fact that the other players don't know our identity to do some activities." "Aren't we doing missions?" June Rain asked. "It's a mission, Little Rain, but it's a guild mission. So you have to listen to the guild leader and follow the guild leader. Do you understand?" Luluo said. "Oh, understood." June Rain nodded. Sword Demon let out a sigh of relief and looked gratefully at Luo. He then said, everyone should know about the North Revival camp being abandoned, right? That was something that Qianli and I unintentionally triggered. Now we know that the conditions are that after the camp guards are wiped out, if you stay in the camp for 5 minutes, the camp will be abandoned. However, with our current strength, the only camp that we can take advantage of is the Northeast camp. Because of the previous accident, there are only 4 guards left. However, it's a bit hard to deal with because we can predict that the players will increase their defenses. As soon as we enter the camp, the guards will automatically recognize us. So it's a bit hard to deal with. You have to think of a plan. I suggest we first scout the area and gather information. Then we can formulate a strategy. Brother, you said. Leave this to us. Wandering Sword and the others said. Wow, you're stealing my rice bowl. Brother, you said. You guys can go together. Sword Demon said. Hey, did you notice? All the men are leaving. Yutian Shenming whispered into Fireball's ear. It's just the 2 of us and a bunch of beauties. How exciting. Fireball drooled. There's also that guy, but he doesn't seem to be talkative and doesn't talk much. There's nothing to worry about. Yutian Shenming was talking about Yun Xiang. They're still Brother Zue and Sword Demon. Fireball said. Don't worry, Qianli isn't interested in these things. As for Sword Demon, do I have to say it? It's so cruel. Yutian Shenming said. It's our world now. Fireball hugged Yutian Shenming and the 2 of them shed tears of happiness. The rest of you, let's walk around the city and see if there are any important missions. It's best if it looks like it can affect the victory of the city. Sword Demon said. Wow, Boss Sword Demon, you're very ambitious. Don't tell me you want the 20 of us to defeat the 200,000 people outside the city? Fireball said. Sword Demon smiled and said, we're not 20 people. Don't forget that the defending side has system guards. After a day, the attacking players are also at their wits' end. Unfortunately, the city guards won't take the initiative to counterattack. We're just a small team that exists in the dark. Through the mission, we create some destruction. If we can destroy the other side's camp like me and Qianli did, then it'll be a great success. However, we'll need a lot of luck. Then let's do our own things. After Sword Demon said this, he went to find Brother Yu and Wandering Sword's group of 7. I'll go with you guys to take a look. Obviously, Sword Demon planned to use the Northeast camp as the main direction of attack. In fact, players with a bit of insight could see that the capture of the camp would definitely affect the outcome of the city battle. Even if they couldn't win in the end, destroying an enemy camp would definitely give them a lot of points. A camp with only 4 guards left was a godsend opportunity. Even if they knew it was difficult, it wasn't impossible to try. Sword Demon, Brother Yu, and the 7 people left. Yutian Shenming and Fireball began to communicate with the girl. Shy Face was at a loss, but fortunately Xiao Tian, who was already familiar with her, was still there, so he followed her. In the end, Gu Fei looked around in surprise. What's going on? Why do I have nothing to do? You're not a member of the guild, and you can't get quests from our guild. You can just be a coolie when we fight. Luo Luo replied to Gu Fei with a smile and went to look for quests with Little Yu. Yutian Shenming and Fireball followed closely. After going around in a circle, they found that it was easier to communicate with these 2. It was also very interesting to tease Shy Face, but now there was Shi Xiaoyan to block for her. This woman was a very smart type, and with just a few words, she could confuse the 2 of them. Not only did they fail to tease, but they were also teased. This was the shame of a seducer. Strange Eye and Yen Xiaozhu were also protective of the younger ones. Strange Eye was cold and unapproachable, so Yutian Shenming and Fireball had no room to do anything. As for Slender Waist Dance and Fiercely, one held a knife and the other clenched his fist. The 2 of them felt that only Gu Fei could tease this kind of girl. As a result, even though there were many girls, the 2 of them realized that they only had 2 choices. As the people left in waves, Gu Fei shrugged. What are we doing? What are we doing? Let's go out and kill people. Slender Waist Dance said. Killing without a destination? Gu Fei asked. How is it without a destination? We're all splitting up. Slender Waist Dance said. Wouldn't killing people like this be too revealing? Gu Fei remembered that Sword Demon seemed to have said that there was no chance of a direct confrontation, so he had to do something in the dark. Yes, we're too exposed. The players don't know who we are. This is a huge advantage for us. If we go on stage and kill players, the players will quickly know who the defenders are, Yun Xiang finally said after hearing the two's discussion. Brother, you're right, even though I don't have that kind of pressure. Gu Fei said that he was already famous, and all the players in Cloud City knew that he was the negative boss. Then what do? We have to find something to do. Is it really that boring to do quests? Slender Waist Dance said. Actually, I have a very exciting quest on hand. Gu Fei said. It's not diving, right? Strange I still had lingering fears. Going against the current to assassinate, isn't that exciting? Gu Fei asked. Butterfly not. Because there was no guild name that surprised my eyes in the solicitation, and time is tight and we can't solicit for a long time, we used Gu Fei's bid. Chapter 716. Go against the flow. Yun Xiang was a newbie after all. She wasn't suited to Gu Fei's way of thinking. Although the news of 8,000 miles drunk, losing to drinking and singing, had already spread throughout Cloud City, Yun Xiang wasn't the kind of fan who mindlessly chased after celebrities. Through his analysis of the actual situation, he understood that although drinking and singing was a bit embarrassing, there were many factors involved. This kind of victory was basically impossible to replicate. So when he heard that Gu Fei was going to challenge singing with wine and drag them along, he couldn't help but be shocked. This was an impossible mission in Yun Xiang's mind. Was there a need to try? Go against the current? How did it become going against the current again? Strange Pupil knew that Gu Fei had a mission to assassinate Sword Without Oath, but he also knew that it hadn't been completed. How did it become going against the current? I failed. I just got online today and was instantly killed by someone at the revival point. I don't even know who it was. I failed the mission just like that. Gu Fei was depressed. To think that you would have such a day. Which hero did you come from? I'll give you a reward. Slender Waist Dance was very happy. Gu Fei's face darkened and he changed the topic. Then I went to reclaim it, but I couldn't get Sword Without Oath, so I could only reclaim it and go against the current. We are going to deal with singing with wine. Yun Xiang wanted to confirm. It's not singing with wine, the goal is to go against the current. Gu Fei said. Isn't that the same? Yun Xiang said. This mission is too easy. Slender Waist Dance's words were shocking. Even Gu Fei was shocked. He doesn't know that I've become a city defender, right? If I go find him, will anyone suspect me? I'll just kill him and then run. Who can catch up to me? Slender Waist Dance said. Genius, the mission is mine. What's the point of killing him? Gu Fei said. Can't we share it? Slender Waist Dance asked. You guys can all claim it and then we'll form a team to do it. No matter who kills him, it's considered a mission. Gu Fei said. If that's the case, who will get the final points? Strange Eye asked. As long as the mission is completed, who cares who he is? Gu Fei didn't care at all. The place to receive the quest was very close. It was in the guild building, where the top 100 guild rankings were located. When Yun Xiang accepted the mission, her heart was still trembling. Would this work? Would this work? Would this work? He asked himself repeatedly. All right, let's form a team and eliminate upstream, Gu Fei announced. Our team has no warriors, no knights, no priests. Yun Xiang reminded. Gu Fei turned around and looked around. He, Yun Xiang, and Strange Eye were the three sorcerers. Shi Shaoan the archer, Slender Waist Dance the thief, Yan Xiaozhu the assassin, and Fiercely the fighter. Hey, brother you, cousin sister, what's your profession? Gu Fei asked. Archer, she whispered shyly. She didn't dare to look Gu Fei in the eye. We really don't have any warriors, knights, or priests. Gu Fei nodded. Yun Xiang waited for him to say something else, but Gu Fei waved his hand. Let's go. Why did they leave just like that? Yun Xiang was at a loss and puzzled. No warriors, knights, or priests? Did he not realize what it meant to not have these three main professions? This meant that this was a pure DPS team with no defense and no recovery. When their strength completely overwhelmed their opponents, this kind of team would be like a harvesting machine. However, the problem was that their opponents had thousands of people, and they actually formed a pure DPS team. What was going on? I'm sure everyone knows how to sneak in and out of the battlefield. Let's split up and go our separate ways to reduce the possibility of being noticed by others. We'll meet up after we leave the city. If you happen to see me going against the current on the battlefield, you must inform me as soon as possible. As they spoke, they arrived at the city gate. After Gu Fei gave a few instructions, everyone scattered and entered the battlefield. Everyone's hearts were filled with apprehension. On the sword demon's side, he and Brother Yu led a group of 7 people. A group of acquaintances walked along the way and talked about how to play the guild in the future. When they reached the city gate, they used the same method as Gu Fei and the others to split up and sneak out. The northeast camp was just ahead. Everyone did their own thing, and Sword Demon was vigilant of his surroundings. Han family young master had already guessed their intentions. He also knew that Jian Nanyu and the others had already joined the guild. It would be easy for others to fool them, but it would be troublesome if they met Han family young master. The defenses are much tighter. Brother Yu had already started to observe the northeast camp. Due to the destruction of the camp in the north, the guilds in Tunza had all moved their homes. Everyone liked to stay next to the camp. This was because if something unexpected happened, they could quickly revive and join the battle. For example, if the battle against Gu Fei and Wine had happened next to the camp, the 1,000 players would not have died and the outcome would have been completely different. At the same time, these players also realized that the northeastern campsite was likely to be attacked. It didn't take a genius to figure this out. Therefore, no one called for an alliance. Everyone moved to the northeastern campsite for the sake of their own interests. This way, there were only 4 NPC guards in the northeast camp, but they had the most players among the remaining 6 camps. Sword Demon and the others didn't dare to go forward. They walked in a circle from afar and shook their heads. "I think this is too difficult," Jian Nanyu said. "There are too many people." "That's right. We only have so few people. Luring a few hundred out is already giving them face. They still have tens of thousands left. We can't fight them. In this situation, there's no difference if we have 20 people or 1 person. It would be good if there were 200,000 people." The discussion went on. Sword Demon was in a difficult position. The guild had just been established. He hoped to fight a beautiful and difficult victory. He wanted to win a lot of points and let everyone have confidence in the guild. How could he not know how difficult it was to abandon the northeast camp? However, it was more meaningful to win such a legendary victory. "I think we need to wait," the Sword Ghost said. "These people can't just guard the campsite all the time. They have to complete missions and attack the city. How can they get points just by sitting here? I think this is only temporary. When the siege starts, there won't be so many people. Moreover, when they revive, we might have a chance." "What about sneaking in? Can we?" Blackwater asked. "When the guards aren't here, sneaking won't work. When there are guards, sneaking is meaningless. We have to find a way to kill the guards," Sword Demon said. "What a headache. Let me have a rough look at what guilds are in this area." Brother Yu said and went to count the flags. The flags of the guilds were raised again. There were many people. With a flag, it would be easier for their own people to find the organization. Sword Demon and the others frowned and thought hard about a good plan. Gu Fei and the others sneaked out of the battlefield smoothly. As long as Gu Fei didn't wear a black robe, there weren't many people paying attention to him. Moreover, his face hadn't become a label. Most people didn't recognize him and naturally didn't arouse any suspicion. After coming out, they gathered again. Gu Fei gazed at the boundless plains and sighed. "All right, the next step is to find upstream. Let's go look for it." "Wait a minute." Shi Xiaotian couldn't bear it anymore. "What? Are you commanding?" Shi Xiaotian asked. Gu Fei was slightly stunned. He was just saying it casually. Was this commanding? Gu Fei didn't have this experience. He had always been a loner. After being stunned for a moment, he said uncertainly, I guess so. What if we discover that we can go against the current? How are we going to set it up? Shi Xiaotian asked. We still need to set it up? Just go. Gu Fei said and turned to Strange Eye. By the way, can you lend me that pair of rings again? Everyone was sweating profusely, especially Yun Xiang. Gu Fei's confidence infected him. Although he was very uneasy, he was absolutely determined to follow Gu Fei. But now, when he said, we still need to set it up, just go directly, Yun Xiang was completely defeated. He knew that he was going to die. They were just a group of people without any arrangements or strategies. Going directly to fight head-on? If it wasn't suicide, then what was it? Even Strange Eye wasn't willing to give the rings to Gu Fei. Aren't you messing around? If you don't think of a way, are you going to just go in like this? A way? Didn't I say it already? The spy will sneak in and kill upstream, Gu Fei said. Everyone was stunned again. Then why are we still going up? To provide support. Do you really think she's Superman? That she can fly out of an encirclement of 1,000 people? Gu Fei said. So there was a plan? Everyone thought to themselves. Why didn't it feel like he was reliable at all? Was this guy just making things up? Everyone looked at Gu Fei, their eyes filled with distrust. How about this? The spy and I will be in charge of approaching upstream. You guys will be in charge of providing support? Speaking of which, is there a need to provide support? If we die, we can return to the city, Shi Xiaotian said. If we don't provide support, then I have nothing to do? Gu Fei said. Who told you to be in the limelight? You can't hide it even if you want to. Because of you, many mages in black robes have been accidentally injured these days, Shi Xiaotian said. What's your plan? Strange Eye asked Shi Xiaotian. That's the plan, but there are still some details to consider, right? For example, find a suitable reason to approach upstream, Shi Xiaotian said. What do you plan to do? A quest. Now that the city war is in a stalemate, the guilds are looking forward to a large quest. We can pretend to be a small guild and say that we received a large quest but are unable to complete it, so we want to ask for help from a large guild like Singing with Wine, Shi Xiaotian said. How do we do that? Strange Eye asked. We don't need to do anything, we just need to see him. Hey, do you have the confidence to kill against the current? Shi Xiaotian asked. Do you have information on his equipment and defense? Slender Dancer asked. I have some information on his equipment. Shi Xiaotian took out the information and analyzed it with Slender Dancer. Strange Eye, Yun Xiang, and the others were all professional mages, so they went up to give advice. Yen Xiaozhu and fiercely helped Slender Dancer calculate from the angle of an attacker. Gu Fei looked left and right. All that was left was a shy face that would hurriedly avoid his gaze. It was so lonely. Ahem, is there anything I can help with? Gu Fei took the initiative to move forward. 2 words were the answer. Gu Fei's face was full of tears. He didn't want to help. He wanted to kill someone, but he knew that he couldn't do it. How could Singing with Wine not know him? If you wanted to sneak in, just changing your equipment wasn't enough. You also needed to mask your face. However, it was common for thieves to wear masked equipment, while mages wore hoodies that covered their heads. If a mage masked their face, they were either pretending to be cool or they had ulterior motives. With the current situation in Cloud Peak City, masked mages were definitely 1,000 miles drunk. Everyone studied Upstream's equipment and the possible data, and their expressions turned ugly. As expected, one of the 5 rookies, Upstream, wasn't just for show. It's impossible to kill him instantly. If he doesn't die in one hit, he'll use Ice Shield and Mana Support. These 2 skills greatly increase his survivability. Even if he just stands there and lets you kill him, he'll be able to last for a while. This is going to be difficult. Strange Eye shook his head. This guy sure has a lot of good stuff. He actually has so many skills, Slender Dancer sighed. If he can't kill him in 2 or 3 hits, he'll definitely fail. Strange Eye said. Slender Dancer shook her head. There was nothing she could do. If it was a 1v1, they could take their time. The problem was that they would all be surrounded by Singing with Wine. As soon as they revealed their killing intent, Singing with Wine would definitely respond. If they couldn't kill upstream in a few seconds, then everything would be for naught. That's not even considering the clerics around him. If we consider the clerics, then we have to kill him instantly. If we don't, then a bunch of clerics will instantly heal him. Strange, I said. With his HP and equipment, even Qianli won't be able to kill him instantly, right? I'm talking to you. Come and take a look. Slender Dancer roared. Gu Fei had come over to take a look, but he was chased away. Now that someone was yelling at him, he had no choice but to come over. Everyone was looking at a book in Shi Xiaoyan's hands. Inside it was a record of upstream's equipment. When they were discussing, upstream's data had already been calculated. If they enlarged the range and allowed for some errors, then it would be close to the mark. Gu Fei glanced over and said in disdain, "Why can't I kill him instantly? I'll use double flame flash and a lightning palm to turn him into dust." "We don't have time for you to use so many skills," Slender Dancer said. Gu Fei didn't say anything else and demonstrated on the spot. He twisted his body, drew his sword, and chanted. His right hand swung his sword twice, and his left hand struck out with lightning palm in the first circle. The entire process took less than 2 seconds. Everyone shook their heads. It was so fast that it was unbelievable. This was just a game. The speed of one's movements was directly related to their attributes. How much agility did he have to be so fast? Impossible. How can your agility be so high? Slender Dancer said. How many times have I said it? It's not speed, it's rhythm. The seamless chain of attacks would obviously look fast. If I didn't have to chant, I could be even faster. Gu Fei said. Unfortunately, you can't get in. Strange Pupil sighed. That's why I said it in vain. Sigh, there's nothing I can do. I can't kill him instantly. Slender Dancer said regretfully. Sword Demon might be around the same level. Gu Fei said as he looked at the data. Sword Demon has such high attack? Slender Dancer was surprised. She had accepted Gu Fei, but now there was a Sword Demon that was even stronger than her. He has a skill that can skip levels, and his attack is very strong. Gu Fei said, but Sword Demon might have a hard time getting in. Even though he isn't as famous as you, at least the whole city knows about him. Strange Pupil said, in the current situation, we can't rely on just one person. We need a few people to go together. When the time comes, we'll have to work together and kill Countercurrent in one go. Shi Xiaotian said, that's the only way. Strange Pupil nodded. And so, Gu Fei was eliminated again, and the others began to discuss again. Gu Fei was lonely. Everyone held onto Countercurrent's data and studied it again. Even though they had a general direction, they still felt that it was a bit tricky. Slender Waist Dance was a must-go, but even Slender Waist Dance's insane damage could not effectively threaten Countercurrent. Countercurrent's excellent equipment was obvious. Plus, he was a mage, so his magic and defense were outstanding. Strange Pupil's equipment was also good, but he was restricted. Yan Xiaozhu's level was high, but her equipment was average. Other than a special skill that caused blindness, there was nothing special about her. Other than these three, the others were even more ordinary. After some calculations, the safest way to kill Countercurrent in one fell swoop was to have 5 players attack together. Moreover, they could not afford to make even the slightest mistake. Countercurrent would definitely activate 2 defensive skills, and the cleric beside him would also take action. This way, if there was even the slightest mistake and the other side arrived, they would all be wiped out. We need to find a place to practice. Everyone agreed. So, they left Gu Fei alone and went to find monsters to practice their coordination. However, this time, Gu Fei would not be lonely. They wanted to attack in unison, and that was precisely the rhythm of their attacks. Different classes had different attack methods, so how could they perfectly attack together? Was there anyone better than Gu Fei at this kind of rhythm? At first, they did not think much of it, but after Gu Fei pointed it out a few times, they finally realized that this person was not only good at fighting alone. Under Gu Fei's guidance, everyone quickly grasped their own rhythm. When the wave of attacks landed on the monsters, even Gu Fei could not see the difference between before and after. The monsters were treated as countercurrents, and they tried again and again. Finally, they understood how to read the signal and how to attack. Next, it was time to practice countercurrent. The group was very confident, and at this time, they ignored their teacher, Gu Fei, and sent him to find out where countercurrent was. Gu Fei was depressed. Where was he going to find out? He only had a few friends, so he sent a message to Sword Demon and the others. Did you see the person singing to the wine? Singing to the wine? What about the northeast camp? We want to kill countercurrent, Gu Fei said. Don't joke around. Do you know how many people are here? Sword Demon said. We have a plan, Gu Fei said. Sword Demon listened and said, what if countercurrent is in the resurrection camp? As soon as you step in, the system will prompt you. Even if you don't want to be exposed, you will be exposed. Gu Fei was stunned. No one on their side had considered this problem. Look at Sword Demon. As expected of an old man, he was much more reliable than these girls when it came to details. In the end, after Gu Fei gave Sword Demon feedback, Shi Xiaotian smiled and said, who said we have to take the initiative? We'll ask him out. Maybe God will help us. His brain short-circuited. Wouldn't it be easier for us to act together? Chapter 717. What are you going to do? Everyone looked at Shi Xiaotian. Gu Fei was depressed. What was going on? Why did this liar girl act like she was the boss? Shi Xiaotian didn't stand on ceremony. She counted her fingers and said, although it sounds simple, there are a lot of details that need to be carefully considered. When I thought of this plan, I first considered the current situation. During the city war, there would definitely be a lot of open and secret fights between guilds. Now that the situation was in a stalemate, I could find countercurrent to discuss this kind of cooperation. This would allow me to gain his trust to a large extent. However, it is also because of this situation that if Upstream's players are suspicious, they might suspect that this is a trap set up by another guild. Why is it so complicated? Thin Waist Dance, who liked to be simple and direct, started to feel annoyed when she heard the long speech. Shi Xiaotian just smiled and said, in this kind of ambiguous situation, we don't know what choice Upstream will make. It is very likely that he will wait and see. So, we need some people to add fuel to the fire. What do you mean? Everyone didn't understand. Just now, you all accepted the mission to assassinate Upstream, right? Shi Xiaotian said. Everyone nodded. I'm not. Shi Xiaotian shook her head. I accepted the mission from the third place, Unchangmatsu. What do you mean? Those who reacted quickly suddenly had a vague idea in their minds. We need to do a marketing campaign. We can't complete the mission, so we want to auction it to the two guilds. Shi Xiaotian finally revealed the truth of her plan. If Upstream hesitated when he heard the news, when he heard that we will look for Unchangmatsu, even if he hesitated, he will bite the bullet and do it. Conversely, it is the same for Unchangmatsu. Actually, if we can accept the Sword of No Oath, the competition between the two guilds will be more intense and easier to use. Unfortunately, I tried the Sword of No Oath just now and can't accept it. Maybe it is because someone has failed before. Will this work? Everyone was surprised. Actually, if I had enough power, I could have summoned even more guild masters, gathered them all at once, and killed them all at once. However, we don't have enough manpower, and all of them are at the level of a guild leader. We don't have the strength to wipe them all out in one go. Just like now, we need 5 people to work together to kill Countercurrent, so even if we have the Unchangmatsu with us, we might not have enough power to deal with him. But as long as we can seize the opportunity to kill Countercurrent, it will be a success. Shi Xiaotian said. Isn't this method too despicable? Gu Fei said. We're alone and weak. If we don't come up with some despicable methods, how will we stand a chance against the 1,000-man guild? Will they fight you one-on-one? Shi Xiaotian said. Aya, why are you so long-winded? Since he could get him out, he just had to find an opportunity to kill him. No matter what method he used, it was decided. But how was this person going to negotiate? We can't send them a message right now. Thin Waist Dance said. I can only go there myself. But I can't go to two places at the same time. I'll have to ask someone else to go to the other place. Who's going? Shi Xiaotian asked. I'm not going, I can't do this. Thin Waist Dance said. Everyone nodded. Thin Waist Dance was more like buying things, but selling things. Most people would subconsciously feel that there was a problem. Actually, it wasn't that rich people didn't treasure things. The equipment that Thin Waist Dance had discarded wasn't something that could be casually thrown away on the streets. Those that could be sold for money were usually sold for money. It was a pity that most people took it for granted that this type of top-tier money warrior was like this. If Thin Waist Dance was doing sales, they would most likely feel that it was a bit strange. Ugh, I have to make one thing clear. Although this is a plan for the quest, just like someone said, it's despicable. So, there's a high chance that the big guilds will take revenge on us, so we have to be mentally prepared. Shi Xiaotian reminded. Revenge? What's so scary about that? I'll go. Yun Xiang stood up. He suddenly realized that in this group of people, only he and Gu Fei were men. Gu Fei was a public figure, so he couldn't do this. He felt that if he didn't stand up, it would be too embarrassing. Oh, what are you going to say? Shi Xiaotian still wanted to test him. Yun Xiang thought about it and said, just say that our guild accepted a quest, but our guild is small and can't complete it. Now, we want to contact a few big guilds and sell this quest. If anyone is interested, please come to so-and-so. Is that okay? No, there's an important point. The quest must be accepted by the guild leader. Without this restriction, what if the big guilds randomly send a few people over? Shi Xiaotian said. How do I say this? Just say that it's a quest requirement? Yun Xiang asked. But at this moment, they might ask to add our guild leader as a friend and talk directly. How do you answer? Shi Xiaotian asked. Guild leader? Guild leader didn't reply? Yun Xiang couldn't answer. Everyone laughed. Clearly, this reason didn't pass muster. At this time, the safest way is to find someone to pretend to be this imaginary guild leader. He has to be a neutral player, so that we can communicate with them. We can't communicate because of our faction, so this is harder to dodge. Why are you looking at me? Do you want me to pretend to be the guild leader? That's impossible. Gu Fei said. Of course not. What I mean is, borrow a girl from Reborn Amethyst, and then we need an independent player to pretend to be the guild leader. Everyone was in a daze. It was a simple matter, but under Shi Xiaotian's careful consideration of every detail, there were actually so many complicated steps. Everyone realized that this girl was indeed a professional liar. She was skilled and professional. If you want it to be foolproof, it's best if the two people who are going to negotiate temporarily leave the guild. Just like what Sword Demon said, if the other party is at the resurrection camp, we won't be able to go in and will be exposed. Shi Xiaotian said. You mean to borrow 3 girls? Gu Fei was a bit conflicted because Shi Xiaotian's methods made him feel quite uncomfortable. However, this was indeed a trick played during the confrontation. To put it nicely, it could be summarized as luring the snake out of its hole. There was really nothing to criticize. Looking at the others, they didn't have any problems with Shi Xiaotian's methods, except for Slender Waist Dance, who was tired of being long-winded and was a bit impatient. Hurry up and find them, what are you waiting for? Slender Waist Dance only cared about speed and ignored Gu Fei's conflicted feelings as she urged him. Gu Fei hesitated again and again, but he still felt that he should deal with the situation and not the person. This kind of method, it might not be impossible to think of moving the Han family young master over, but he might not be so disgusted. Speaking of which, it was because he had a very high opinion of Shishalan, but in this matter, it shouldn't be much, right? In the end, Gu Fei still sent a message in the guild channel, wanting to transfer 3 people over to the new guild. What's the matter? Gu Fei was actually just the leader in name, but in reality, the girls still listened to July. A little tactical arrangement, we need people to work together, we're missing 3 people. Gu Fei said, Oh, who's going? July had always been a democratic person. When the girls heard that it was a tactical arrangement, They didn't have confidence and were afraid of delaying the official business, so they didn't dare to say anything. Actually, we're just here to make up the numbers. We don't need to do anything, we just need to continue with the city quests after changing guilds. Gu Fei said. When they heard that it was just that, the enthusiasm of the girls showed. Many of them were willing to help. Gu Fei was very fair. He picked the first 3 who spoke up and coolly kicked them out of the guild, exercising his first authority as a guild leader since becoming a guild leader. Sword Demon. Gu Fei called out to Sword Demon. There are 3 people, add them. Where are the 3 people from? We temporarily need 3 people to leave the guild, so we're temporarily transferring 3 people from Reborn Amethyst over to make up the numbers. Gu Fei said. Oh, tell them to apply. Sword Demon said that to apply to join the guild, they needed to go to the guild building, and the guild leader could receive a message from the guild building outside of Qianli. They didn't need to report to the guild building to accept. What are you guys trying to do? Sword Demon asked at the same time. The people he brought could be said to be extremely overpowered elite members. All of them were experts, but they were silently observing, waiting for an opportunity, and thinking of a strategy. They were even more helpless than the players who were attacking the city. On the other hand, Gu Fei brought a bunch of people of different levels, but they seemed to be very active. Sword Demon didn't know why, but he felt a little sour in his heart. Gu Fei explained Shi Xiaoyan's plan, and the people next to Sword Demon also came over to gossip and listen to Sword Demon's live broadcast. After listening to it, Sword Demon was very impressed, immediately exposing his background as a robber and a swindler. They were really a nest of snakes and rats, and he sincerely admired this kind of method. This plan is very interesting. I think since we're going to do it, let's make it bigger. Won't we have more people with us? Let's bring a few more guild leaders, and we'll catch them all in one go. How about that? Sword Demon started to add fuel to the fire. Wait a moment, Qianli, we have something to discuss. Sword Demon replied to Gu Fei, and then turned back to discuss with Sword Demon. Do you think it's feasible? It's feasible, very feasible. I think you should know that we're actually very good at the assassination part of this plan. Sword Demon wasn't ashamed to mention his past. Completing multiple guild leader assassination missions at once, the rewards should be very generous, right? Brother Yu was also very tempted. 1 guild leader per person, how many can we get? Huarani counted. If we get too many, it won't look like it. I think getting 1 from a big guild is enough. How many level 6 guilds do you have here? Sword Demon and the others were all outsiders, so they didn't know much about the guild structure in Cloud City. Sword Demon said. Then let's do these 5. Sword Demon said. There's no rush at the camp. Look at the current situation, we're just standing here and watching. Why don't we assassinate the guild leader together? Sword Demon listened and gradually became tempted. That's right. The plan sounded quite good, and there were conditions to enlarge it. They could assassinate a bunch of them at once, and several missions could be completed at once. It was very suitable. But Sword Demon nodded and contacted Gu Fei. There's no rush, we'll come over and work together. Gu Fei didn't expect this result. Who's on your side? Sword Demon asked. Gu Fei said his name. Call Yutian and the others out. Oh, wait, while you're at it, come out with a mission. Sword Demon said. What mission? Get a few more guild leaders, and we'll make it bigger this time. Sword Demon said. Cruel, too cruel. Gu Fei realized that he was clearly a good person. All right, the latest news is that Sword Demon and the others have decided to come over to help. The plan has been enlarged, and will lure the 5 guild leaders over and capture them all in one fell swoop. Gu Fei announced. But I can't accept the mission from Sword of No Oath. I've interacted with Gu Xiaoshang from Rosy Clouds before. I don't think that girl will fall for this because her guild is more self-satisfied and developed, but she doesn't have any intention of competing. Shi Xiaotian said. Then it'll be the 4 guild leaders. Sword of No Oath doesn't have a mission. No mission doesn't affect killing him. Gu Fei said. Ruthless, one more ruthless than the other. Yun Xiang gradually had a clearer and clearer understanding of the group she was in now. Shamefaced looked at everyone with more and more fear in her eyes. If that's the case, then we can't just randomly accept the mission. Let's plan it well. Shi Xiaotian said. Thus, the Against the Heavens Guild began to gather and prepare for their first group activity. Among the 3 new girls, 2 of them said that they would continue to stay in the city to make up the numbers, while the other one said that she wanted to come out and participate in the activity. Hi, Little Willow. Gu Fei greeted Lower Willow. She was someone he had known for a long time, but they didn't interact much. Previously, there were a bunch of girls, and he didn't have the time to greet this kind of person that he had a bit of a personal relationship with. Guild leader. Lower Willow also used the name that Amethyst used to call Gu Fei. This form of address was 30% to tease, and 70% to tease. You seem to have put on some weight. Gu Fei said. Oh, can you tell? Lower Willow was an overly skinny girl, so saying that she was fat made her feel a little relieved. Yeah, I used to think that 1 slap could break you, but now it looks like it might take 2. Gu Fei said. Too violent bird. Shyly hid behind her cousin and quietly told her cousin that she wanted to leave the guild. Don't be afraid, they're all good people. Brother, you said. Ahem, do people drop equipment during the city war? If they drop equipment, we can earn some extra money. They're all guild leader level, that's a lot of money. Jian Nan's occupational disease was acting up. Since we've already done this, why don't we make the auction real and collect the money before doing the work? Shi Xiaotian was also impulsive. They're all good people? Shyly asked her cousin. Brother Yu couldn't explain anymore and hurriedly came out to stir things up. Talk about the mission, talk about the mission. What nonsense is this? Gu Fei was also Firebird. Boss, don't be angry, we're just joking. Glu hurriedly explained. Be serious, it's a city war. When the time comes, kill as many people as possible. Gu Fei said. Shyly refused to let go of her cousin. She was very persistent. Can we all talk about the mission? I'm begging you. Brother Yu was about to cry as he comforted Shyly. Cousin, don't make a fuss. Even if you want to leave, you have to wait. Right now there are only 20 people. If you leave, won't the guild fall apart? The kind-hearted cousin was convinced by this reason and continued to hide behind her cousin. I suggest giving this mission a name. How about we call it Operation Beheading? Kill all the leaders of these big guilds. Fireball also became active. He liked these flashy things. Okay, let's talk about business. As the guild leader, Sword Demon finally spoke. This bunch of messy people from all over gave Sword Demon face. Once they heard him speak, they all became quiet. Now we've tentatively decided on 4 guild leaders, Sword of No Oath, Against the Current, Unchung Mutsu, and Black Index Finger. Everyone knows these people, right? Sword Demon said. Yes, what a coincidence. Are all the guild leaders' names 4 words? Look at my previous guild, Tsubasa Sakuratsuga. TSK, but not anymore. Boss Sword Demon only has 2 characters. But now that Brother Drunk is the guild leader, it's also 4 characters. Strange, why do you all like 4-character names? Fireball rambled on, changing the topic. Everyone raised their eyebrows. Do you have the right to talk about names? Gu Fei asked. Fireball froze and sweated. His biggest flaw in the game was his name. Can you all stop interrupting? Sword Demon wiped his sweat. This guild leader was really strenuous. Everyone used silence to express their determination. Because of the target's special identity, we can't think of the opponent as one person. What we need to do is to hit the target with 1 strike and kill 1 person with 1 strike. Now let's take a look at the opponent's information. Under Sword Demon's signal, Brother Yu proudly took out his information book. Everyone came forward to take a look. Brother Yu was hit in the head. After a few glances, Shi Xiaotian said, Brother Yu, don't you have any updates on your information book? This, and this. These 3 pieces of equipment have long been eliminated by the Sword of No Oath. Really? Brother Yu was stunned. Going against the current is true. He won't be using these 2 for a long time. Look, this is his current equipment, Shi Xiaotian said as he tossed over his information. Really? Brother Yu quickly took it and studied it eagerly. What about the equipment of Unchung Mutsu and Black Index Finger? Brother Yu continued to ask. I don't have information on these two. Shi Xiaotian shook his head. I haven't been in Cloud City for a long time. The information might be a little old. Brother Yu was ashamed. It's a little troublesome if you don't know the exact information. Strange Pupil said. It's not troublesome. Sword Demon and I can kill one each. There are a lot of people now. I think the two of us can blend in inconspicuously. Gu Fei said. If a sorcerer masked his face, it will be more conspicuous. Strange Pupil said. The four leaders all know you, right? Everyone glanced at Gu Fei. Gu Fei was depressed. This was such an important decapitation mission. Was he supposed to be the lookout? Actually, if you put on a lot of makeup, it might not be so easy to be recognized. Luo Luo suddenly said. What are you doing? Gu Fei suddenly had a bad feeling. The fifth lady in the club is a professional makeup student. Get her to do it for you. At least you won't be recognized unless you look closely. When the time comes, you can stand in the crowd, change your clothes, and don't cover your face. I think you won't attract attention. You might be able to pass, Luo Luo said. Fifth lady? Which fifth lady? Gu Fei searched through his memory. May Blossom. How many girls do you know in the guild? Luo Luo said with disdain. May, June, July. Are there so many you girls in the guild? Gu Fei was surprised. What do you mean you girls? The girls were furious. Chapter 7:18. After the reincarnated amethyst confirmed the direction of the matter, she was quick to act. Luo Luo somehow spread the word, but the guild channel was filled with voices. Other than Mayflower, there was even a group of onlookers, all of them acting as technical consultants. Gu Fei couldn't care less about them. His slip of the word, Lady Yu, had earned him a lot of criticism from the girls. In the end, it was June Rain who saved him. Looking at the group of girls poking fun at Gu Fei, June Rain showed great confusion. She said blankly, What are you guys doing? I'm the real Lady Yu. Little Rain. Luo Luo and the others didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Little Rain, you're a brother. Gu Fei escaped from the encirclement. It's the truth. June Rain said. I'll bring you on a big quest later. Gu Fei promised. What kind of quest? June Rain's eyes were twinkling. It's very complicated. We might even have to dive to the bottom of the lake. Do you think it's fun? Gu Fei said. It's fun. June Rain had never experienced a quest like this before. She was unusually excited. Strange Pupil couldn't stand it anymore and rolled his eyes at Gu Fei. Gu Fei ignored it. It was the truth. Mayflower arrived with her team of technical consultants. Gu Fei was surrounded by them. The group started a heated discussion about Gu Fei's appearance. Gu Fei was extremely embarrassed. He looked around for help, but all he got in return was a bunch of gloating looks. To be able to see Gu Fei being helpless, Imperial Sky Shin Ming and the other acquaintances felt that it was extremely rare. Jian Nan and the others looked serious on the surface, but they were already going crazy from their private conversations. God's eye. The seven of them felt as if they had been wronged. In the past, they had been directly suppressed by Gu Fei. Now that they saw Gu Fei in an unusual situation, why not? In this joyous atmosphere, the chief makeup artist, Mayflower, held up Gu Fei's head. After carefully examining it, he said, Actually, it doesn't have to be so complicated. I think we just need to make his hair shorter, trim his eyebrows, apply some eyeliner, and shape his lips. Do you have any requests for the shape of his lips? Mayflower was immersed in his role and asked about his client. I don't have any requests. Gu Fei's face darkened. Mayflower actually took out a large piece of paper from his pocket. When he opened it, there were many kinds of hand-drawn lip shapes on it. He spread it in front of Gu Fei and said, Take a look, mainly at the bottom. The rest are too different from yours, so don't think about it. Whatever. Gu Fei said helplessly. Anything? What if you don't like it? Said Mayflower. I'm not afraid to tell you the truth. No matter what you do, I won't like it. Gu Fei said, Mayflower curled his lips. Do you think men don't need makeup? Actually, a man can look better with a little makeup. You have a pretty good foundation. Have you taken any photo albums before? No. Gu-Fei said. Oh, then you've never done makeup before? No wonder you're so resistant. I'll help you try it out first. See how it goes? Mayflower said. No, let's do it all at once. There are so many people waiting for the quest. Gu-Fei said. Gu-Fei was 100% unwilling and 1,000% unwilling to cooperate. If it wasn't for the fact that he knew that this quest would be 100% exposed, he would have jumped up and left a long time ago. Mayflower felt Gu-Fei's emotions and was also quite unhappy, so he didn't say anything more. He took out some replacement tools from his pocket and started working on it. Luo saw that Gu-Fei was extremely resistant and finally expressed some consolation. Don't worry, it's just done in the game. You can go offline and log back in. You'll be able to restore your original look. In the game, players could do their own styling. After going offline, the system would save it. However, if you wanted to restore your original look, there was an option to scan it when going online. However, there were quite a few players who did their own styling, especially hairstyles. Normally, they would be too embarrassed to go out on the streets, but in the game, everyone would try it out. The girls maintained their prettiest makeup every day because of the system's saving. After doing it offline, it would be automatically saved when going online. As long as they didn't refresh, the makeup would be forever recorded. They didn't have to do it again every day. How fortunate! Of course, there were some girls who didn't really know how to do their own makeup. This gave artisans like Mayflower a chance to show off their skills. However, the game didn't have makeup. It was all created by the players. Fortunately, the game didn't have to care about the damage to the skin. Anything could be used so they could make it look real. The surroundings were quiet. Everyone quietly watched as Mayflower fiddled with Gu-Fei's face. Only Gu-Fei closed his eyes. He couldn't bear to watch. Halfway through, Luo suddenly said, wait a minute. Wiyue, don't you understand what I mean? I want you to make him inconspicuous, ordinary, and unobtrusive. Don't make him look handsome. Does that so? Mayflower was depressed. She saw that Gu-Fei was very resistant to makeup. She wanted to change his mind, but she didn't expect the situation to be different. At this moment, the makeup wasn't to look good, but to be inconspicuous. It was to make him look ordinary. Redo it. Thank you for your hard work. Luo said. At this time, Fireball shamelessly came over. Miss Wiyue, right? Can you help me do it when you have time? What kind of makeup do you want? Mayflower asked without turning back. Handsome to death, so handsome that a girl would fall head over heels for you. Fireball said. Mayflower heard this and looked back at Fireball. Are you saying you want plastic surgery? Fireball ran away in tears. Gu-Fei endured it and didn't say a word, letting it do as it pleased. May Blossom erased the painting from before and restarted. Everyone watched from the side, and sure enough, the painting was different. Although they could still recognize Gu-Fei from his facial features, it was definitely not as lively as before. Furthermore, the makeup from before was only half done. Mayflower looked at it from afar and said to Luo, is this okay? Change the hairstyle again. If you don't stare too hard, I don't think you'll recognize me so easily. Okay, do it. Luo said. I don't know how to cut hair. Mayflower said. He doesn't know how to preserve it anyway. Next time, just do it the same. Luo said. This. Mayflower was in a difficult position. She really didn't know how to do it. You can't let me do it. Someone volunteered. Gu-Fei heard the voice and opened his eyes in shock. I don't believe you can. Yeah, she can't and I can't, but I have the courage. I'll do it. Slender Waist Dance took out a dagger. What do you mean by a dagger? Gu-Fei said. Nonsense, do you think I have scissors on me? Slender Waist Dance said. You guys are playing with me. Gu-Fei wanted to cry but no tears came out. Okay, bear with the pain. Slender Waist Dance grabbed Gu-Fei's hair and chopped it off as if she was cutting straws. This time, Both men and women could not bear to watch any longer. Gu Fei could not imagine how Slender Waist Dance shaved her hair. He only felt that she was moving her hair to the left, to the right, to the front, and to the back as if she was pursuing something. Okay. Slender Waist Dance patted Gu Fei's head. Gu Fei woodenly stood up and looked left and right. The players around him all stared at him. It's your first time. It's already pretty good, right? Plus, the tools in my hands aren't easy to use. Slender Waist Dance said. You've worked hard. Luluo said. Gu Fei walked through the crowd in a daze. He saw Sword Demon. Sword Demon wanted to hide, but Gu Fei teleported in front of him. This was without a doubt the kindest person. Gu Fei found out the truth from his mouth. How was it? Gu Fei asked. At least the goal was achieved. Sword Demon said. What goal? To not be easily recognized. Sword Demon turned his head. Who has a mirror? Gu Fei really wanted to know. Actually, it's nothing. Xiao Wu's hair. It's just a bit silly. Luo said. Describe it with a word. Gu Fei said. A teapot lid? Luo looked left and right. Everyone applauded. This analogy was too appropriate. Slender Waist Dance was very proud. The hairstyle she made was actually based on the real thing. Won't it attract attention if it's too silly? Gu Fei said. I don't think so. Luo said. Why? Can't you see that I'm always avoiding you? I really don't want to look at you. Luo said. Gu Fei's face was full of tears. Ahem, let's not talk about this. Let's talk business. Sword Demon said. Everyone who was going to participate in this operation began to gather. The girls who came to see Amethyst continued to discuss Gu Fei's makeup. Qianli, come here. Sword Demon called out to Gu Fei, who was still in a daze. 4 leaders, 3 warriors, and countercurrent. From the information, they're also mages with strong survival abilities. Now let's divide the roles. Who will be in charge of the 4 leaders? Sword Demon began to speak. Unchung Mutsu and Black Index Finger's situation might be a bit old. Their current true strength is a question mark. Although Qianli said that he and I will each take one, the problem is that he already has the countercurrent mission, and this assassination mission can't be taken 2 at once. So if he launches the last attack, this attack must be on countercurrent. If he kills someone else, it'll be equivalent to wasting the chance to complete the mission. Oh, I forgot about that. Gu Fei was worthy of being a martial arts practitioner. His concentration was very fast, and when it came to business, he temporarily forgot about the trouble of the pot lid. Can we cancel the heavy claim? I'll ask the girls who are still in the city to try. Luluo said. Let's give it a try. Sword Demon nodded. You guys said you guys are fine with killing countercurrent? Sword Demon asked Slender Waist Dance and the others. No problem. They were confident that Slender Waist Dance would be in charge of killing countercurrent, with Strange Eye, Yen Xiaozhu, Fiercely, and Yun Xiang as support. I thought of a problem. Gu Fei suddenly said. What? Everyone asked. Actually, I'm not the only one who can be easily recognized. For example, Sword Nanyu, you should know Unsworn Sword, right? Gu Fei said. Ah. Sword Nanyu was startled. He had indeed crossed paths with Unsworn Sword in Waterside City, but he wasn't sure if he could recognize him immediately. And you girls, are you sure the people from the 4 major guilds can't recognize you? Gu Fei said. That's easy, we just need to put on makeup. The girls said. Then, everyone looked toward Sword Nanyu. Sword Nanyu cried, even if you die, you still have to drag us down with you. There's also Yutian Shenming. Gu Fei said, do any of these guild leaders not know him? Yutian Shenming wanted to run, but he was immediately stopped by Brother Yu, who saw through his intentions. Oh right, and Brother Yu. Gu Fei said. Ah. Brother Yu came to his senses. So he didn't run either. Other than thieves, if any other class masked their faces, it would be suspicious, right? Gu Fei said. Sword Demon let out a long sigh. He was extremely glad that he chose the thief class. If any of you were recognized, it would be very suspicious, right? Gu Fei said. So, don't think about it. Line up and put on makeup. Gu Fei said, slender waist dance, cut their hair. But slender waist dance was happy. Sword Demon wanted to say something. Gu Fei's analysis was very reasonable, but why did he feel that it was ridiculous? And didn't you and Unchung Mutsu meet each other before? Gu Fei said to Shi Xiaotian. Shi Xiaotian smiled slightly. Yes, I'm going to use this relationship to get close to them. I'm afraid they won't recognize me. Gu Fei didn't harp on her. After all, girls weren't afraid of makeup. Luluo, on the other hand, had a worried expression on her face. I say, this makeup isn't a disguise. I'll change you a little so that you won't stand out among the crowd, but now everyone is a familiar face. At first glance, everyone looks familiar. It won't work. Makeup artist May Blossom nodded. It's just makeup. Do you think it's plastic surgery? Hee hee, if that's the case, everyone will cover their faces. Shi Xiaotian said. Isn't it suspicious if we cover our faces? Luo said. Our small guild sells missions. Each mission is sold to one party, but we found 4. We're destined to offend 3 parties. We don't dare to show our faces because we're afraid of revenge. If he covered his face, it would still make sense. I think their greed for the mission will overshadow their caution, especially in the case of 4 parties competing. Especially in a 4-way competition, the overly cautious party will be directly eliminated, Shi Xiaotian said. So, there's no need for Qianli to disguise himself? Luo said. There's no need. Shi Xiaotian said, we just need to change our clothes. All of us are covering our faces. This in itself is a kind of disguise. There are a few mages among us who are covering their faces. They won't immediately associate it with Qianli being drunk. Damn, why didn't you say so earlier? Gu Fei said. I just thought of it. Shi Xiaotian said. When everyone heard that they were saved, they cheered and jumped for joy. Gu Fei was extremely depressed. Let's continue the previous discussion. The problem of how the 4 of us will be divided. Shi Xiaotian said. Have you tried canceling the mission? Sword Demon asked Luluo. They went over. Luo said. Where should we choose? Sword Demon asked. At least a place with an NPC. It looks like there's a mission. Shi Xiaotian said. Little Rain, do you have any records? Luo asked June Rain to borrow her mission log. June Rain recorded a lot of missions about the city war, but most of them were simple and common repeated quests. These quests were repeated by many players. The major guilds also knew that it wasn't suitable. Luo flipped and flipped until she finally found an NPC who only wrote coordinates. She didn't know what kind of mission it was, so she asked June Rain. This NPC didn't receive a mission? No. June Rain said. But Sword Demon and the others came over to take a look. At the Yunjiao lumberyard. Luo said. What about there? Sword Demon had been defending the city, so he wasn't too clear about the situation on the siege side. That's also within the scope of the city war. There seems to be some logistics players who go there. Why don't we go and take a look? Luluo said. So everyone went to investigate. In the Yunjiao lumberyard, they found the youth named Werther. He sat alone on a pile of wood in the lumberyard, looking at the sky at a 45-degree angle. There were still players coming and going around the lumberyard, but there weren't many people around Werther. There are quite a lot of people here. I think a lot of people have tried to find this Werther. It's not a secret that he doesn't have a mission. Luluo said. That's good. An NPC without a mission. Why doesn't he have a mission? Because we received a mission. Shi Xiaotian smiled. This place is quite convenient for an ambush. Azure Blade looked around at the piles of wood. They were all excellent cover. How about we set it here? Shi Xiaotian suggested. Everyone agreed. At this time, the quest girl in the main city sent a message. The quest to assassinate the guild leader couldn't be given up after receiving it. A quest that can't be cancelled. This means that Qianli can only attack against the current or sword without oath. Sword Demon was quite regretful. Let's go with the sword of no oath. Isn't everyone ready? Then we'll leave the other 2 to the rest. Sword Demon said. Sword Demon, you choose. Leave the rest to us. Azure Blade was full of confidence. Are you sure? Sword Demon asked Azure Blade and the others. Hee hee. Azure Blade laughed but didn't say anything. His face was professional. I can't say it's foolproof. Brother Yuten, Fireball, help me. Sword Demon was quite cautious. No problem. Yutian Shenming pulled his bow. But from the looks of it, the four sides have to attack at the same time. Otherwise, if one side is fast, it'll be a hint to the other side. Brother Yu was worried. Sword Demon patted him and said, Brother Yu, as long as you can kill them in one hit, the hint doesn't matter. Brother Yu was slightly startled and had an epiphany. No matter what reaction you had, you wouldn't be able to save him in one hit. Then it's basically decided. After the distribution, let's each take our quest. Azure Blade will go take Unchung Matsu. You guys take Black Index Finger. Sword Demon distributed. No problem. What about my side? I need a few people to act with me to lure them. These people need to temporarily leave the guild, and they need to have unfamiliar faces and IDs. People like Luluo, who is known as Amethyst, definitely can't do it. Shi Xiaotian said. It wasn't difficult to choose, but it was a bit tricky to pick. Gu Fei and the others definitely didn't count. Azure Blade and the others were also masters on the leaderboard. Their IDs were actually famous, but it wasn't very convenient. The rest were the girls who had been reborn with the purple crystal. Can I? I should be fine. Lu Xia recommended himself. Butterfly not. This chapter is about playing with the protagonist. Looking back at the previous chapters, is there such content? I don't really remember. Chapter 719. Everyone started to get busy. They went to collect their missions according to the targets they killed. Those who had already collected missions went around to find out where the four guilds were. Shi Xiaotian, Lu Xia, and Yun Xiang formed a team and assigned their roles. The initial decision was that Shi Xiaotian and Yun Xiang would each go to the two guilds, and Lu Xia would pretend to be the guild leader. The three of them rehearsed and thought about possible situations and events, trying their best to fool the other party. Shi Xiaotian was confident in himself. He was just worried that Yun Xiang wouldn't act naturally during the process. Therefore, Yun Xiang tried to be concise. As the saying goes, the more you talk, the more likely you are to make mistakes. The less you talk, the safer it would be. The scouts who had gone out to scout also reported back one after another. After all, the four major guilds were a very conspicuous group. It was a piece of cake for them to find out where the four major guilds were. Out of these four guilds, 3 of them were stationed in the revival camp. The person in charge had to leave the guild. Shi Xiaotian and the other 2 were prepared and were kicked out one by one. Shi Xiaotian was in charge of Against the Current and Unchung Matsu. Yun Xiang was in charge of the Sword of No Oath and Black Index Finger. Shi Xiaotian rummaged through his pockets and grabbed a bunch of guild badges. He randomly picked 2 that were the same and passed one to Yun Xiang. He wore one too. He asked Yun Xiang for the last time, "What's the name of the guild? How many people are there? Who are the members? Do you remember all of these?" Yun Xiang nodded. "Okay, 2 for each person. Let's go far away first," Shi Xiaotian said and went their separate ways with Yun Xiang. The others also knew that the operation had begun. Those who accepted missions and those who went to scout for information returned to their original positions. They seized the time to discuss tactics and get used to each other. At the revival camp in the northwest of the city, a large number of players gathered, including the Yunmu Guild led by Unchung Matsu. The city war remained in a stalemate. After learning that there was a limit to the number of deaths, many guilds no longer dared to act rashly. This was especially true for the large guilds that held high hopes for the city war. None of them dared to casually engage in a battle of attrition with the system. Currently, the various large guilds were showing signs of shifting their focus to quests. These special quests were not easy to accept. However, the fixed NPCs in the various resurrection camps had many timed quests. Players were currently swarming there, trying to complete these boring quests in order to earn some points. Although the Unchung Matsu himself was here, his subordinates were cleverly dispersed to the 6 resurrection camps. Before there was a clear chance of victory, he didn't plan on wasting a single soldier on the siege battle. Although he was criticized and looked down upon by many players, the Unchung Mutsu wasn't moved at all. While he sent people to complete these small quests, he also sent people to search for big quests. At the same time, he sent people to investigate the latest movements of the various guilds. Everything was carried out in an orderly manner. The Unchung Mutsu didn't need to be nervous or anxious. All he had was anticipation, and the anticipation came knocking on his door. Shi Xiaotian passed through the various guilds and arrived in front of the Shepherd Clouds Guild. "Is your guild master here?" Shi Xiaotian asked with a smile. "There's a beauty looking for the guild master." The people from the Shepherd Clouds Guild winked and smiled ambiguously. While replying, they immediately sent a message to Unchung Mutsu, "There's a beauty looking for him." Very few people would dislike beautiful women, and the Unchung Mutsu was no exception. However, very few people would be shameless in front of beautiful women like the playboys. The Unchung Mutsu was no exception. When he heard that there was a beauty looking for him, he didn't foolishly let his imagination run wild. After asking where she was, he hurried over. "Great Guild Master Yun, it's been a while," Shi Xiaotian said. The Unchung Mutsu felt that this woman was very familiar. He quickly remembered who she was. He thought that she was the person who had extorted him of 400 gold coins. However, when he chased after Qianli and got drunk, he realized that it was all a misunderstanding. However, he couldn't take it lying down, so he got drunk with Qianli at the entrance of the revival point. In the end, he was beaten to a pulp. After that, Tsubasa Sakuratsuka suddenly appeared and acted as a mediator since they weren't familiar with each other. At that time, Unchung Mutsu wanted to get Qianli drunk and join the guild. However, Tsubasa Sakuratsuka's sudden appearance made him think that Qianli was a perverted guy like the playboys. He immediately thought that Qianli wouldn't give up on the rebirth amethyst, so he gave up. He was quite angry about the matter with Shi Xiaotian, but it was later proven to be a misunderstanding, so his anger naturally dissipated. However, he wasn't able to get Qianli drunk to join the guild, so he felt a bit regretful. However, that was a consensual thing. Although it could be said that he was extorted, it had been a long time. The Unchung Mutsu wasn't petty to the point of holding a grudge. "So it's you. What's the matter?" Unchung Mutsu said. "Hee, just like last time, I have some information to sell to Great Guild Master Yun." Shi Xiaotian said. "Oh, what kind of information?" The Unchung Mutsu was already on guard, but he wasn't a lawyer who charged by the hour. It wouldn't cost him anything to listen, so he casually asked. "Mission?" Shi Xiaotian said. "Mission?" The Unchung Mutsu was startled. "What's the matter?" "There's a mission that I want to sell to Great Guild Master Yun," Shi Xiaotian said. "I don't understand what you mean." "The reason is very simple. Our guild received a mission, but we don't have the ability to complete it. However, we know that a big guild like Muyun would definitely want to try such a large-scale mission. So, we want to exchange this mission for some gold coins." Shi Xiaotian said. "What guild are you?" The Unchung Mutsu asked. "Ling Yu Heaven Realm," Shi Xiaotian said. "Never heard of it." Shi Xiaotian smiled. "So it's a small guild. It's made up of 20 friends and relatives." The Unchung Mutsu's expression didn't change. He immediately asked around in the guild to see if anyone knew about this guild. In the end, someone really said that it sounded a bit familiar. "What's the situation with the guild?" The Unchung Mutsu asked. "I don't know. I don't know when I heard or saw it." The person who knew answered. "Go and investigate." The Unchung Mutsu said. "We can't enter the main city, and we can't reach the guild building. How do we investigate?" The Unchung Mutsu thought about it and agreed. Although the offline official website also had some guild rankings for each region, those were all the top guilds. If this was a guild with only 20 people, it definitely wouldn't be on the rankings. "Are you the guild master?" The Unchung Mutsu asked Shi Xiaotian. "No, it's not convenient for our guild master to show himself right now," Shi Xiaotian said. "Why?" Because the mission is with our guild master. If he shows himself and accidentally dies, the mission will fail due to his death. How will we earn the money then? Shi Xiaotian said. What exactly is the mission? The Uncheng Matsu asked. Of course we don't know what happens after the mission. It's just that we can't go through the current plot. If we had the ability to complete it, we wouldn't have sold the mission. Shi Xiaotian said. Then why are you selling it to me? The Uncheng Matsu said. Shi Xiaoyan laughed. You misunderstood. Although I'm selling the mission right now, it's not certain that you're the one who bought the mission. What do you mean? Do you think? The Uncheng Matsu immediately remembered that Shi Xiaoyan had found him and against the current last time. This time, this woman wanted to do the same thing again. However, last time it was information that could be shared. This time, it was a mission. The mission couldn't be shared between two guilds. Without a doubt, this woman wanted to find more guilds and then go to the highest bidder. Guild Master Yun, do you understand what I mean? Shi Xiaotian said. I understand. The Uncheng Matsu felt a bit of hatred. It was another scam. However, just like the last time, even though he knew, he had no choice but to bite the bullet. The only ones who could compete with them were the other 4 6th-rank guilds. However, this time, it wasn't a competition of strength. It was a competition of financial resources and how much courage they were willing to put in for the mission. No matter what, the Uncheng Matsu felt that it was necessary for him to participate. If he bought it, he'd make a profit. If he didn't, it wouldn't be considered a loss. Thinking of this, the Uncheng Matsu nodded and said calmly, Okay, I'll participate. Send me the price when the time comes. After hearing this, Shi Xiaoyan's heart skipped a beat. This guy was actually going to use information to conduct a remote auction? This wasn't the result they wanted. Thinking of this, his face was slightly surprised and then a bit happy. Then he said, Oh? Then, can I trouble Guild Master Yun to add me as a friend? I'll make a price when the time comes. The Uncheng Matsu had been observing carefully. He saw the strange expression on Shi Xiaoyan's face. When he heard that he wanted to add Shi Xiaotian as a friend, someone in the guild reminded him, Guild Master, this is equivalent to an auction. If we don't participate in the auction, won't they be able to play tricks behind the scenes? The Uncheng Matsu thought about it. That's right. If I don't listen to the price, for example, go against the current reported 1,000, but this woman told me 2,000, wouldn't I be an idiot? Even if she contacted Go against the current, it wouldn't work. If Go against the current reported 1,000 and told him in private that he would bid 500, then Uncheng Matsu would be happy to bid 800. In fact, it wasn't even higher than that. Anyway, this event had to be carried out in front of everyone. If you want to act mysterious and play tricks behind the scenes, then you have to be absolutely trustworthy. Of course, the Uncheng Matsu couldn't trust this woman, nor could he trust the bosses of other guilds. He sighed inwardly at how muddle-headed he was. He quickly changed his words, adding as a friend is a must, but there's no need to bid. I think it's better to send someone to participate in the auction. How do you plan to proceed? It's like this. This mission seems to only be accepted by the guildmaster because the NPC is actually quite conspicuous. However, our people didn't trigger the plot of the mission before. In the end, our guild master only received the mission after contacting him. So, our guild master won't appear in public. He's currently in a relatively safe place. I'll be the host of the auction. After any guild wins the bid, our guild master will follow his request and die, causing the mission to fail. Then, naturally, the guild master who won the auction can take over the mission. Does Guild Master Yun think that there's any problem with this operation? Shi Xiaotian said. It seems all right. The Uncheng Matsu nodded. Then where is this mission NPC? Yunjiao Lumberyard. If Guild Master Yun thinks that there's no problem, you can send someone you trust over to participate in the auction. After the auction is successful, we can complete the mission first before getting the money. We can still trust the reputation of a big guild. Shi Xiaotian said. Of course, being a big guild didn't mean that they had quality. However, the few big guilds in Cloud City all had a good reputation in this area. There wouldn't be anyone who didn't trust them. So, Shi Xiaotian didn't argue on whether to get the mission or money first. After listening, the Unchung Mutsu felt that there was nothing wrong with it. He immediately nodded. Then I'll send someone over immediately. How do we contact each other then? Oh, if it's possible, can we wait for a moment? I still need to go drink and sing. When the time comes, we can go together. Shi Xiaotian said. The Unchung Mutsu heard this and secretly hated it. However, he suddenly had an idea and suddenly said, How much money? How much are you willing to sell the mission for? Shi Xiaotian smiled slightly. This is something that doesn't have a price tag. The value needs to be reflected. How cunning. The Unchung Mutsu gritted his teeth and said, Okay, what's your name? I'll add you as a friend and we'll contact each other later. Shi Xiaotian. Shi Xiaoan left his name and added Unchung Mutsu as a friend before leaving. On the other side, Yun Xiang had already finished visiting the Black Index Finger. The Black Index Finger came from a mercenary group. His trading experience was far richer than the average guild master. Therefore, everything was very simple. Once Yun Xiang stated the purpose of her visit, the Black Index Finger quickly sorted out the details. For example, the remote control to participate in the auction. The Black Index Finger didn't make a joke out of it. He just asked about the mission out of concern. Of course, these were already rehearsed lines. Yun Xiang wasn't nervous. She performed perfectly and answered all of them. In the end, the Black Index Finger gladly said that he would participate in the auction. The two of them visited their respective guilds. At this time, the specially arranged guild master Lu Xia didn't have any use at all. The players from both guilds didn't ask about the guild master at all. To them, it was fine as long as there was a mission. It didn't seem necessary to talk to the guild master. Shi Xiaotian left Mu Yun and went to drinking and singing. Drinking and singing had killed Qianli in the morning, so their morale was greatly boosted. However, their mission didn't improve after killing Bai Sha, so they were quite depressed. At this time, other than searching for missions like Mu Yun, drinking and singing was also paying attention to Sword Demon's whereabouts. They already saw Sword Demon as their mission target. It was the same method of meeting up. Countercurrent was clearly smarter than Muddy Cloud, and he didn't make a fool out of himself by asking for a remote auction. He asked the same questions and tried to understand the situation. The only difference was that Countercurrent asked which guilds would be participating in the bidding for this quest. Drinking and singing, unhindered, Mu Yun's guild. Not Rosy Clouds? Going Upstream asked. Guild Master Gu of Rosy Clouds. We don't think she will participate in this kind of event, Shi Xiaotian said. Hee, it's a fair trade. I think it's 50-50 whether she will participate or not. However, even if you don't call her, her guild will still come. Moreover, she will be the winner of this auction. We won't participate in drinking and singing, Going Upstream said. But I don't quite understand, Shi Xiaotian said curiously. Haha, because you invited Sword Without Oath, he will definitely give Gu Xiaoshang a heads up. Although Gu Xiaoshang did not receive an invitation, after hearing such news, and with Sword Without Oath's persuasion, his chances of coming will increase greatly. And if she were to participate in the auction, the Sword of No Oath would probably only fight for it symbolically, and it was more likely to lend her a hand at the last moment. If Gu Xiaoshang doesn't want to compete, then Sword Without Oath will ask her for help instead. This guy, no matter if he wants to give Gu Xiaoshang a favor or owe her a favor, he will spare no effort. So, there's no way we can compete with these two guilds. Going Upstream shrugged. Oh, so you're saying that Gu Xiaoshang might not come. Guild Master Upstream, are you sure you don't want to go take a look? Shi Xiaotian said. Hee, I don't think I'm wrong. Going Upstream laughed and didn't say anything else. Shi Xiaotian was a bit panicked. She had calculated everything in her mind, but she had neglected the melodramatic power of love. The legendary power of love that could conquer everything. In front of this thing, would Sword Without Oath abandon his greed for the quest? At this moment, Shi Xiaotian also received a message from Yun Xiang. That Sword of No Oath actually asked us if we called Kaiyun. I said no, and then he asked why we didn't call it. Then he called it for us. What if the people from Rosy Clouds come? Shi Xiaotian didn't include Gu Xiaoshang in the beginning because Rosy Clouds wasn't interested in these things. But for Sword Demon and the others, there was another reason why they didn't want Rosy Clouds to participate. Han family young master. The young master of the Han clan was currently mingling with Kai Yunjian. Putting aside the fact that he might not be able to see through the plan, if he were to come with Gu Xiaoshang, Gu Feijian and Gui Gui might be able to fool most people with their faces covered, but how could they possibly fool this fellow? When the time came, their tracks would definitely be exposed. If the 5 guilds joined forces, even 8 Gu Fei wouldn't be able to survive. Don't panic, play your role well. After reminding Yun Xiang, Shi Xiaotian turned to going upstream. If that's the case, then I'll take my leave. I won't see you out. Going upstream didn't bat an eyelid and let Shi Xiaotian leave. The situation has changed. At this time, the people at the sawmill in the suburbs had already received the situation. Going upstream didn't participate in the auction, but the people from Rosy Clouds might participate. What do we do? A bunch of people panicked. What do you mean, what do we do? It's still 4 targets. Once we kill them, it's over. Gu Fei said. If young master is with us, I'm afraid we won't be able to hide. Brother Yu said. Brother Yu, are you talking to me? Gu Fei said. Yeah. Then where are you looking at? Gu Fei asked. Brother Yu turned his head with difficulty and saw Gu Fei's teapot lid hairstyle. Don't laugh, laughing is the same as dying. Brother Yu sternly warned himself and then said, Young master and Rosy Clouds have been together recently. Brother Yu, why do you sound so weird? Gu Fei asked. Do I? I do. A lot of people said. Nonsense, how can I not blame him? I'm talking while biting my tongue. If I don't make it hurt, how can I hold back my laughter? Brother Yu was in pain. Chapter 720. For Gu Fei and the others, they didn't need to think about complicated situations. Just the Han family young master alone was enough for them to die in public. Thinking about it now gave them a headache. Would the Han family young master come? Would he come? Just this multiple choice question alone was a big problem. At this time, there was someone who was quite lonely, Lower Willow. This girl followed Shi Xiaotian and Yun Xiang for a lot of revision. In the end, until now, no one cared about the existence of this guild leader. She didn't even get to perform the part she prepared. As for the suicide mission, this part was just said out loud, there was no need for it to be performed. But at this time, no one cared about her thoughts. After the group heard the news, they immediately started an urgent discussion. Everyone racked their brains, thinking about how to avoid it. I got it. Yutian Shenming was the first to have an idea. He jumped up and shouted, Why don't we tell them that this mission is only for men, women can't take it? I'm a woman. Lower Willow, who pretended to be the guild leader, said. She was the person who accepted the mission in name. Isn't there no one adding you now? Let's take a gamble. Yutian Shenming said. Gamble your head. It's a bit too late to say this now. Brother Yu said, we shouldn't have set Kai Yunjian as not needing an invitation, we should have set it as not being able to attend. If that's the case, we might be able to muddle through by saying the mission condition first. What's the use of discussing this now? Quickly think of a way. What's the situation with Yun Xiang? Sword Demon said. Yun Xiang was very embarrassed. After talking to Sword Without Oath, that guy went to call Gu Xiaoshang. He didn't ask her anything and just stared at her. Instead, another core member of the guild, Time Reflection, came over to interrogate her. Guild? How many people? Who is the guild leader? What's the situation with the mission? How does the auction work? These were all questions. Yun Xiang was prepared to answer as before, but just as she was about to ask who the president was, Shi Xiaotian hurriedly sent a message. When you ask the president, you can't say Lu Xia. We need to prepare again. Stall for time. Shi Xiaotian had already confirmed with Gu Fei and the others that Han family young master should know Lu Xia. Therefore, Lu Xia could no longer play this role. They had to find someone else that Han family young master did not know. In this circle of people, the only person that Han family young master did not know was Shameful Face. However, The problem was that if she were to leave now, the guild would be disbanded immediately. If they were to find a replacement, they would have to go to the guild building to apply. It was not a coincidence that the reborn amethyst was in the building. It would take time. How would Yun Xiang be able to delay it for so long? Yun Xiang was capable. When Shi Xiaotian sent him the message, Shadow Years had already asked him who the guild leader was and was waiting for him to answer. Yun Xiang was glad that she didn't read the message while talking. Otherwise, it would be too late for regrets. However, how could he delay it now? Yun Xiang could not think of anything that could delay him from answering this question. Talking nonsense with others? That would only make him more suspicious. Yun Xiang, who could not be more anxious, suddenly saw a white light flashing in front of him. After a slight pause, he gritted his teeth and went all out. Forcefully log off. Yun Xiang chose to forcefully log off. Although the resurrection camp was just a few meters in front of him, it was too unreasonable for him to go in and log off. He could only forcefully log off and disappear. Everyone in the game knew that forcefully logging off would not end well. Yun Xiang felt that this would be a good cover. However, he hoped that his luck would be good and the punishment would not be too heavy. He actually used this method. Shi Xiaotian saw that Yun Xiang's name had turned black. He guessed that the other party was asking this question. He had no other choice but to use this ultimate move. Quickly find the best girl to join the guild building. Who is the closest to the guild building? Who is the closest to the guild building? Gu Fei hurriedly shouted in the Reborn Amethyst channel. What's the matter now? It's an emergency. We'll talk about it later. Run towards the building and apply to join. It's very overpowered. The situation is very urgent. Hurry. When had Gu Fei ever been so anxious? The girls didn't dare to be negligent. However, the concept of what was considered close to the guild building was very vague. Thus, almost all the girls were moving over. As they ran, they were still gossiping in the channel. Gu Fei saw that everyone was moving, so he briefly explained the situation. You guys are really tired. Add a few more this time. It's too dangerous to have 20 people hanging off, July said. And the new guild leader candidate was almost the only one. Among the people present, the only one that Han family young master didn't know was Shy Face. Although this girl was introverted and would definitely not be able to play such a role in front of others, since she was just in existence to receive and send messages, it wouldn't be a problem for someone to guide her. However, Sword Demon was a little worried. Brother Yu, we aren't too familiar with your cousin. She just joined the guild and we're going to kick her out to do this. She won't be unhappy, right? No, Brother Yu said with certainty. Brother Yu said with certainty, she's quite happy, but I'm having a headache about how to persuade her to come back. What do you mean? Sword Demon asked. Nothing. Brother Yu smiled bitterly. What should he say? Could it be that Shy Face felt that all of you were ugly, fierce, robbers, perverts, liars, and not a single one of you looked like a good person? Brother Yu hinted that this was an opportunity for him to leave the guild. The reason why Shy Face accepted this mission so readily was because Brother Yu was hinting to her that this was an opportunity for her to leave the guild. Now, they just had to wait for the reborn Amethyst girl to arrive at the guild building and join the guild. Then they could kick her out. As for Yun Xiang, it would be best if she didn't come online at this time. Even if she did, she would still have to go down. Just treat it as frequent network failures. This was a battle against time. Everyone couldn't care less about other things. They were all listening to Gu Fei, who had Reborn Amethyst's guild channel. Lady number 1 is currently in the lead. She's less than 300 meters away from the guild building. But Lady number 4 is likely to catch up. She's an archer and has an advantage over Lady number 1 in terms of movement speed. Miss number 6 has suddenly shortened the distance between us. She actually knows a shortcut between the Crystal Square and Church Avenue. What an unexpected dark horse. Doesn't anyone know about this shortcut? Lady number 8, I think you should back out. You're going in the opposite direction. I represent Yutin Shinming to send my sincerest regards to you. Fuck me. Why didn't you say so earlier? I bet on lady number 8. Fireball cried. Ha, this is fate. I bet on lady number 6. That's why they say that 6 is more auspicious than 8. Yutian Shenming was overjoyed. He didn't mind Gu Fei talking about his poor sense of direction. Very good, now we've entered the sprint stage. Number 1, number 4, and number 6, who will be the first to reach the finish line? Gu Fei shouted. Everyone couldn't help but gather around him. Painful news. There's a traitor in our party. She actually bribed one of the contestants. Lady number 6 was supposed to be the first to enter the guild building, but she stopped at the staircase. She's waiting. Behind her is lady number 4, said Gu Fei. No! Shouted Yutian Shenming. I protest. We want to fight against fraud. We want to fight back. Protest overruled. Slender Waist Dance sent Yutian Shenming flying with a kick. She raised her hands and announced, the champion is lady number 4. Give me your money if you want to bet. Ha! All right, I've received the application. While Slender Waist Dance was laughing heartily, Sword Ghost was dealing with serious matters. He received the application from Reborn Amethyst and the other two. After accepting them, he greeted Bashful Face and kicked them out. Why isn't Yun Xiang up yet? Everyone was struggling with this question. That idiot can't have just disappeared like that, right? Just as someone asked this question, a system notification popped up. Yun Xiang had reappeared. Shi Xiaotian had already left a message for him. Guildmaster, Shy Face. Other than that, he also reminded him that he was really disconnected. He didn't disconnect on his own accord, so he should pay attention to his emotions. Yun Xiang had already thought about how she should act in this place in the few minutes she logged off. She was already furious the moment she logged up. She ignored Sword of Unsworn, Reflection of Years, and the others in front of her and quickly went to check her equipment, EXP, and money. This was really a natural performance. Forcefully logging off was the real deal. Yun Xiang really wanted to know what punishment she had received. Motherfucker, someone kicked my plug, Yun Xiang said to the people around her with a sobbing tone as she checked. The people from Reigning the World were quite humane. They all asked her what punishment she had received out of concern. My EXP was deducted. Fuck, 23% was deducted for this level. Will the system accept this complaint? Yun Xiang asked around. I'm afraid it won't. Reflection of Years expressed his regret. Above level 40, 23% EXP would take a few days of hard work. Just one plug and it would be gone. He had to sympathize with her. How depressing. Yun Xiang looked like she wanted to bite someone. This series of natural performances was finally over. Sword of Unsworn, Reflection of Years, and the others didn't suspect anything. They just thought that they had bumped into an unlucky person. When the other party was at the lowest point and most depressed, the two were too embarrassed to bring up the serious matter that everyone had been talking about. My condolences, brother. You can earn back your lost EXP. It's better than losing your equipment, Reflection of Years consoled. That's the only way. Where were we just now? Yun Xiang also took the opportunity to get out of the situation. Oh, speaking of your guild, I wonder who the guild leader is? Reflection of Years said. The guild leader is called Shameful Face. He's in a very safe place right now. After the auction ends, if your side wins the auction, we will cooperate with you and transfer the quest out at the right time, Yun Xiang said. You guys have thought it through quite carefully. Reflection of Years laughed. This right time was very important because this quest had been made public. The auction was one thing, but after the auction, would the other guilds use force or some other methods to cause trouble? Receiving the quest wasn't the goal. The key was to complete it. No one wanted to be wiped out after receiving the quest and then have all their efforts go to waste. This guild leader's name sounds like a girl's? Reflection of Years asked. Yeah, our guild is a bunch of old friends. The guild leader won't grow for long. It doesn't matter, anyone can be. Yun Xiang said. Oh, this kind of guild isn't bad. Reflection of Years praised. I wonder if your side will be participating? Yun Xiang made a final confirmation. Of course we'll participate. But I also want to ask, how much do we bid? Can we directly take the quest? Reflection of Years also wanted to play this hand. Yun Xiang naturally shook her head, indicating that she had no such plans. That's a shame, Reflection of Years said. Also, Guild Leader Unsworn seemed to have contacted Guild Leader Gu from Rosy Clouds. We originally thought that she wouldn't participate in this kind of auction. Is she planning to come now? Yun Xiang asked. Of course she's coming, Unsworn Sword said. This was tantamount to finding a competitor for himself. However, Time's Reflection didn't feel too depressed. First, he already knew that this would happen, and second, he understood that if Rosy Clouds came, then this quest would belong to either Reigning the Four Seas or Rosy Clouds. Even if Rosy Clouds succeeded, Reigning the Four Seas would still have to help her. With Gu Xiaoshang's personality, he wouldn't let Reigning the Four Seas help him for nothing. Of course, Unsworn Sword's fantasy of repaying his debt with his body was impossible. Oh, then can you give me a way to contact Rosy Clouds? I can also communicate with them. Yun Xiang said. Isn't it just a small matter? No need, I'll pass the message. When does the auction start? Unsworn Sword basically wanted her to talk to Gu Xiaoshang, so she actively acted as a middleman. Yun Xiang had no choice but to say, if there's no problem, we can start at any time. Then I'll have to trouble Guild Leader Unsworn to contact Rosy Clouds? No problem, then we'll go now. Those who want to participate, tell them to hurry up. The sooner we finish, the sooner we can complete the quest. After Unsworn Sword finished speaking, he gave the order in the guild. Yun Xiang saw all the surrounding players stand up and leave. Reigning the Four Seas was preparing to go all out. Yun Xiang hurriedly reported back. Okay, now that the situation is clear, there are still 4 guild leaders. Unfortunately, we only have 2 quests, Unchung Mutsu and Black Index Finger. These 2 are our priority. Now that Yun Xiang has sent over news, Reigning the Four Seas seems to be going all out. After this, it'll be hard for us to escape. Everyone, do your best to kill the enemy and get points. Sword Demon said. I think we should try our best to send out the 2 who completed the quest. If they die and the quest fails, then it'll be too bad. Gu Fei said. This kind of quest, it's better to be safe than sorry. Okay, then let's do our best. Because Kai Yunjian was coming, Han family young master might also appear. There were many old friends here, and a simple disguise like a mask wouldn't be able to fool him. Fortunately, the conditions of this lumberyard are pretty good. There are a lot of hiding places, especially the piles of wood. I'm sure everyone knows the layout of the lumberyard. Once we confirm where they're coming from, everyone will choose the best place to set up an ambush. As for the people outside, when will they arrive? Sword Ghost asked. None of them were suitable for this task. Originally, it was supposed to be done by Shi Xiaotian, but now that the Han family young master was here, it was very likely that it would arouse suspicion. Actually, there was already a huge risk to this quest, and that was whether or not the Han family young master knew the name Shi Xiaotian. If he did, then he would be on guard. However, this was something that could not be changed. After working so hard for so long, no one wanted to give up. They could only brace themselves and continue working hard. We can only rely on Yun Xiang to take charge. Shi Xiaotian sent a message back. Sigh, can't this brat come back soon? There are so many things I want to tell him. Sword Demon was anxious. If there's no other way, then describe it in the channel. It's very likely that he's coming with Reigning the Four Seas. If we make too big of a move, it'll easily raise suspicion. Shi Xiaotian said. That's the only way. Yun Xiang, are you coming with Reigning the Four Seas? Sword Demon asked. Yes, I'm with them now. Yun Xiang said. Okay, then listen carefully. You'll be in charge of the auction. I'll explain our arrangements to you now. Remember it well. Sword Demon messaged. The 4 major guilds weren't people who would be led by the nose. After agreeing to go to the auction, they had already begun sending scouts to gather information. Unchung Mutsu originally planned to send a few of his brothers to represent Muyun, but when he received news that they could go, He also found out that reigning the four seas was going to be sending a large number of people. This caused Unchung Mutsu to reconsider. If only a few people from his own guild went, would they be bullied? This wasn't a system auction, so what order would there be? What if Unsworn Sword was despicable and found a corner to block his people, or even kill them? How would they participate in the auction then? Black Index Finger had developed the habit of personally attending large group transactions since the mercenary group era. He had originally planned to bring a few of his brothers to this auction, but the scouts reported that reigning the four seas was going to be sending out their entire army. Damn, this uncultured thing. Black Index Finger cursed. This was an auction, not a PK. Why would they bring so many people? Black Index Finger felt that Sword of No Oath was acting like a nouveau riche and was not presentable at all. But since so many people had gone, the Black Index Finger had the same worry as Moody of Yunzhong. Left with no choice, he could only gather some soldiers to form a large team. As for Rosy Cloud, Unsworn Sword and Gu Xiaoshang were the only ones who passed messages to Gu Xiaoshang. Originally, Gu Xiaoshang was too lazy to compete with the other guilds. However, he had nothing to do in this siege war. They couldn't take down the city, and the quests were all trash. He wanted to take care of Thousand Miles Drunk, but he hadn't seen him for an entire day. Hence, under Unsworn Sword's constant urging, Gu Xiaoshang decided to go and take a look. Oh, is the auction quest that interesting? Which guild is it? Han Family Young Master asked when he heard the news. It's called Celestial Overpass, a small guild. Gu Xiaoshang said. Who's the guild leader? It's called Shameful Face. I think it's a girl. I've never seen her before, so she's hiding now. Once she's done, she'll kill herself. Gu Xiaoshang said. Well arranged. Han Family Young Master said. Let's go and take a look first. Gu Xiaoshang said. It's just an auction, why go yourself? Just pick a few people you trust, I'll go with them. Han Family Young Master said. Chapter 721. You want to go? Gu Xiaoshang was surprised. The Han Family Young Master's goal in joining them was to deal with Qianli's drunk and sword demon. Apart from that, he didn't care about anything else. Now that he suddenly volunteered, Gu Xiaoshang couldn't help but be suspicious. Do you think there's a problem with this? I can't see the problem, but I have some suspicions. Han Family Young Master said. You suspect that it's Qianli's drunk and sword demons guild? Gu Xiaoshang had heard about Qianli's drunk and sword demons guild from Han Family Young Master. I can't be sure, but their guild has definitely been established. Han Family Young Master said. How do you know? Gu Xiaoshang asked. Just ask. Han Family Young Master said. Then can we just ask them now? Gu Xiaoshang asked. I asked them, but they pretended not to know. Han Family Young Master said. Pretended not to know. Looks like you're very suspicious of them? Gu Xiaoshang laughed. Qianli's drunk and the others already had a quest to assassinate the guild leader. Right now, this quest just so happens to have such a condition in the auction. They need the guild leader to receive it. The guild leaders will gather together and complete the quest. Give me a reason to not suspect them. Han Family Young Master said. Then what do you think we should do now? Gu Xiaoshang said. If it's true, then I think they have the determination to complete the quest first. So, even if we pretend to be the Oriole behind, it's useless. The people from the other three guilds are more than enough to drown them. So, it's better to stop their assassination plan from the root. We'll need to communicate with the other guilds, Han Family's Young Master said. How do we communicate? Gu Xiaoshang asked. It's very simple. It's just an auction. Don't go to the chairman. Just send some Tom, Dick, or Harry there. Han Family Young Master said. Fine, we'll send you, Gu Xiaoshang said angrily. This person really had no filter on his words. What Tom, Dick, or Harry? With these words thrown here, how is it convenient for him to send more people? Whoever she sent out would become a nobody in the eyes of her guild leader. Of course I can go, but you should at least send me a few helpers. The Han family young master smiled disapprovingly. As such, Gu Xiaoshang began to call out his troops in the guild. At the same time, he sent a message to Unsworn Sword. Unsworn, you have to be more careful in this matter. Beware of traps. Oh, what's wrong? Unsworn Sword took Gu Xiaoshang's words very seriously. This might be an assassination plan planned by Qianli and the others. Gu Xiaoshang said. Why do you say that? Unsworn Sword asked. Although he wanted to obey Gu Xiaoshang unconditionally, he still had to explain this to the rest of the guild. Without clear evidence, he could not just turn around and say, Gu Xiaoshang said that this auction is rigged, so he won't be participating anymore. If he really did that, he would definitely lose his position as the guild leader. Unsworn Sword still paid attention to the appearance of others. I don't have any evidence. It's just a suspicion, so I want to remind everyone to be careful. I suggest that our guild leader doesn't show up for this auction. Let's send someone we trust attend. What do you think? Gu Xiaoshang said. That's not a problem. I'll just ask Reflection to go. Unsworn Sword happily agreed. Actually, the reason why Unsworn Sword was so enthusiastic about attending the auction was because he wanted to meet Gu Xiaoshang at the auction and have a chance to flirt with him. Now that he knew that there was a high chance that Gu Xiaoshang wouldn't be going, Unsworn Sword naturally lost his enthusiasm. He immediately sent a message to Reflection. Reflection. I won't be going for this auction. Bring some brothers with you. But Reflection was right beside Unsworn Sword. It was strange that he actually received this guy's message, but he didn't say anything and replied with another message. I've thought about it. Say, what if this is a trap set up by Qianli's drunk to lure us guild leaders over and then kill us? What should we do? So I think it's best if I don't go personally. Unsworn Sword said seriously. Is that so? Reflection was suspicious. Is it because Gu Xiaoshang isn't going? I can't deny that it's because of that, Unsworn Sword said. Damn. Reflection replied. At the same time, he glanced at Yun Xiang, who was following beside them. He turned his head and said to him, Brother Yun Xiang, I'll go with you to the auction later. Where's guild leader Unsworn? Yun Xiang asked. He's waiting outside. Reflection said indifferently. Yun Xiang was also trained from this mission. He quietly replied with an "Oh," and quickly sent back a message. There's a change in the situation. Unsworn Sword said that he won't be participating in the auction. The core of the guild, Reflection, will be participating. At this time, Gu Xiaoshang was also negotiating with Uncheng Mutsu and Black Index Finger. Although these two guild leaders didn't have that kind of absolute trust in Gu Xiaoshang was really a person with a good reputation in Cloud City. Both guild leaders believed that if Gu Xiaoshang wanted to compete for this mission, even if he invited a group of people to gang up on them, he wouldn't use any tricks. So they agreed with Gu Xiaoshang's reminder. So the two made arrangements and chose trusted members to participate in the auction. Damn, this must be Gongzi's doing, Gu Fei said after receiving the message. And the guild leaders didn't do this at first, but halfway through, they reacted. It seems like they received some kind of reminder, but I don't think they have any evidence. It's just that we can't let go of our guard. Also, the image of you two has already been deeply engraved in people's hearts. Shi Xiaotian said to Gu Fei and Sword Demon. She was an archer, so her movement was relatively fast. After coming out from upstream, she returned to the lumberyard first and had already met up with everyone. With the current situation, if we continue to pretend to auction, we can still win a chance to assassinate in the end. In the end, a guild leader has to accept this mission. Gu Fei said. But if we get Unsworn Sword and Gu Xiaoshang, then wouldn't it be meaningless? Sword Demon said. With the current situation, these two people have a very high chance of winning. Unsworn Sword against Gu Xiaoshang, don't tell me you guys don't know? Shi Xiaotian said. The system is baffling. I was the one who died, so why did you fail the mission for Unsworn Sword? Gu Fei said. How would I know? Sword Demon said. You two don't talk about this anymore. I think we can only make the act real and continue with the auction. Shi Xiaotian said. That's the only way. Everyone sighed. I'll continue to host the auction. Shi Xiaotian said, since the Han family young master is already suspicious, then there's no need for me to hide anymore. If I can find a chance to dispel his suspicions, then things might still turn around. Up to you. Gu Fei had never cared about Shi Xiaotian's plans, so he had an indifferent expression. Good luck. The others gave Shi Xiaotian great encouragement. Thus, Shi Xiaotian sent a message to Yun Xiang. She would continue to host the auction. Yun Jiao Lumberyard. The final situation was very different from what everyone expected. The president that they wanted to see was nowhere to be seen. The Han family young master, who they didn't want to see, was the first to arrive. A bunch of people were hiding in the dark. When they heard Shi Xiaotian's message that the Han family young master had arrived, they all gritted their teeth. Yutian Shenming suddenly suggested, forget it, we'll talk about the president later. Let's jump out and kill young master now. Let him be arrogant again. Kill him? Isn't he a neutral player? There's no point in killing him. Jian Nanyu was the most practical person. Calm down, calm down. The big picture is more important. Gu Fei advised. Shi Xiaotian was standing under the pile of wood that the mission person, Werther, was sitting on. When he saw the Han family young master, he was slightly surprised. He quickly went up and said, "What's wrong? Didn't you say that you wouldn't be coming?" "I'm no longer singing and drinking. I'm representing rosy clouds now." The Han family young master laughed. "What's wrong? Are you from this guild too?" "Indeed." Shi Xiaotian replied with a smile. I think we're a bit early." The Han family young master looked around. "Yeah, the other 3 guilds will be here soon. The auction will be held here later. Let's wait for a bit." Shi Xiaotian said. "Okay." The Han family young master nodded and began to look around. He looked here and there, but he couldn't find what he was looking for. At this time, the reflection of years arrived with a few players from reigning the world. When he saw the Han family young master, he nodded as a greeting and asked quietly, "Did you find anything?" "Not yet." The Han family young master shook his head. Maybe they received the message that the president won't be coming and left. Anyway, don't put the quest before the money. Of course. The reflection of years nodded. The reflection of years was also the first to arrive. Behind him were the representatives from Muyun Guild and Black Alliance. Because everyone was on guard, they were all sneaky. They looked around to see if there was anything strange about this place and walked over to greet the people who arrived first. The Muyun Guild recognized Shi Xiaotian, while the reflection of years and Black Alliance recognized Yun Xiang. After Yun Xiang arrived, she didn't say anything and stood beside Shi Xiaotian. After Shi Xiaotian confirmed the identities of the 4 parties, he nodded and said, "Then, if there are no more questions, shall we begin?" This group of people did not seem to have any doubts at all. However, their doubts were no longer about the auction. They were gathered at the side and whispered something. At this moment, when Shi Xiaotian suddenly announced the start of the auction, everyone was a little stunned. Because of their suspicions, they did not come with the intention to auction. "Okay, the auction will begin now. Everyone, please raise your heads and take a look. This young NPC named Victor is the quest NPC for this auction. As long as we win this auction and our guild leader gives up on the quest, the winning guild leader will immediately be able to communicate with Victor and receive the quest. Okay, let's begin now. We will follow the system's rules. We will set the starting price at 200 gold. The lowest price is 20 gold. There is no upper limit. Who wants to bid first?" 3 out of the 4 representatives looked at each other in dismay. The young master of the Han family continued to sneer coldly. Seeing the awkward silence, he decided to help warm up. He raised the wine bottle in his hand and said, "Then let us begin." "Okay, 220 gold from the Rosy Cloud Room," Shi Xiaotian announced. 240? A certain someone called out in confusion. "Muyun bids 240, Shi Xiaotian shouted. 260? The Black Alliance wasn't sure either. "Black Alliance, 260, Shi Xiaotian repeated. "It's really starting?" The same thought flashed through everyone's mind. So, there's no trap? They looked at each other again and started to get into character. The 20 gold increments were getting higher and higher. They were all very serious. As for the young master of the Han family, he didn't pay much attention to it after he started. From time to time, he would shout as if he was interrupting a conversation. 80% of his attention wasn't on the auction. He held his wine bottle and walked around in circles. He even took out his binoculars to observe the surroundings. As the three auctioneers worked hard, they hurriedly reported to the president, describing the fierce competition here. At the same time, they wanted to confirm the price in the president's heart. At this moment, the price had already reached 500. How much was this mission worth? In this era where the economy had just entered chaos, it was hard to measure the value of gold. This was a difficult question. Faced with an unknown mission, how much money would it be worth spending? The presidents calculated in their hearts and asked the assets of the people in their guilds to calculate their own wealth. At the same time, they used their spies in other guilds to find out the price and wealth of the other guilds. After a long time, there was no news from the president. The representatives on this side were gradually not as happy as before. Every time they called a price, they would first ask the president for instructions. Shi Xiaotian seemed to understand the difficulties of the other party. Sometimes, when the bidding took a long time, she wouldn't call for the hammer. Instead, she would wait with a smile. Every time this happened, the person who had just bid would have objections. They didn't think that it was necessary. The two guilds who thought about it supported Shi Xiaotian's way of doing things. They thought that it was just a game and that there was no need to be so strict. Very soon, a new bid was made. The other parties started to drag their feet again. The one who wanted to do things without rules was changed. The representatives of the three guilds kept changing their stance. Shi Xiaotian just happily stirred things up. From beginning to end, she didn't have any intention of calling for the hammer. What made the three guilds even more unhappy was the Han family young master. This person was wandering around. From time to time, he would walk past them like he was just passing by. He would raise his bottle and open his mouth to call out a price. Was this an auction? No matter how you looked at it, he looked like a troublemaker. Especially when this guy raised the lowest price to 50 gold. The other three guilds were even more bitter. Han brothers, what are you doing? Reflection time couldn't take it anymore. When the Han family young master passed by and raised his bottle again, he pulled him over and asked, "I want to see what they're up to." Han family young master said, "You can look, but don't call out a price. Is Rosy Cloud's space here to buy the quest or to cause trouble?" Reflection time said, "The people from Black Alliance and Gathering Clouds were even more unhappy with the Han family young master. When they saw the two of them whispering, they immediately came over and shouted, "What are you doing? What are you two sneaking around for? Make it public. Make it transparent." The two of them strongly requested. "Fuck, go and call out your price. Why are you dawdling and not bidding for so long? Miss Shi, you can't do this. You're clearly waiting for us to raise the price. You can't do this in an auction. You have to set a time limit." Reflection time said, "Fuck, what time limit? Didn't you think about it just now? Why didn't you say a time limit?" The two of them were anxious. Now was their time to think. "Set a time limit now. If you don't bid when the time limit is up, I'll drop the hammer." Reflection time said angrily, "Fuck, your guilds have already finished discussing, right? We're not done yet. I'm not doing it." Actually, the few of them knew what they were thinking about. They were just going back and forth to communicate with the guild leader. Now that reflection time suddenly became firm, they thought that this guy might have received instructions from the guild leader, but they hadn't even come to a conclusion yet. Of course, the two of them wouldn't do it. They were arguing for what was right. In the next second, the guy from Black Alliance changed his words. "Okay, then let's discuss a time limit." "Fuck, you guys have a conclusion too, right?" Mu Yun's representative was instantly abandoned by his allies. He wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He could only ask Unchung Matsu for help. "Guild leader, what's the most we can bid? Hurry up and give us a price. We can't take care of you all the time." We're about to announce a new rule. They won't wait for us to discuss. If we don't bid after 1, 2, 3, then they'll drop the hammer. What's the bid now? Unchung Mutsu asked. 1,300 already, the representative replied. Okay, bid 10,000 first. We'll discuss in the meantime. There were 1,000 people in the guild. If each person took 10 gold, that would be 10,000 gold. Unchung Mutsu didn't think that this price would make everyone jump up. If it was any higher, then they would have to discuss it. Gold was precious right now. Mu Yun's representative received the order and immediately started bidding, 1,350. Okay, 1,350 gold. Mu Yun's now bidding 1,350 gold, Shi Xiaotian announced. Wait. Let's pause for now. We must clarify the rules first, Time's reflection said. Yeah, how long can we wait? Give us a time, the black representative said. What's the rush? Take your time. Everyone can think about it. Shi Xiaotian smiled. Of course you're happy. We'll take our time to think about it. We'll discuss this. The three representatives began to discuss. They had already ruled out the young master of the Han family. They were very suspicious of this person's sincerity, and even the brothers who had come over from the rosy clouds felt that this person was too deceitful. However, after complaining to Gu Xiaoshang didn't care much and only said, let him be. In the end, Gu Xiaoshang didn't have much hope for this quest. 30 seconds? Only 30 seconds? That's not a problem, right? Time's reflection said. No problem. If he doesn't make a bid in 30 seconds, the hammer will drop. The other three were very determined. Very good. You come and count. Time's reflection pointed at Yun Xiang. Me. Go ahead and count for the bosses. Shi Xiaotian smiled. So, can we continue now? Yes. All right, the Sheep Cloud Guild just bid 1,350 gold. Let's continue. 10,000. Han family young master floated over calmly with a bottle of wine in his hand. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.